Here we go.
G'day fans and welcome to another exciting episode of Rip It Off the Card. We've had a couple of really funny moments here. As I discovered when I logged into the show half an hour ago to sort of get it ready, we weren't even scheduled to go yet. So at the moment, we've only got one person watching us, which is absolutely fantastic. Christy's at, they're all rolling in now. Absolutely wonderful. Did anybody notice we didn't even have the show scheduled up until about 20 minutes ago? Mr. Aaron, how you going, old son?
Absolutely fantastic. It's been an amazing day today. Very busy getting the show ready to go.
Unbelievable. Now, it's kind of funny because we're expecting the numbers to be a little bit lower tonight because every free-to-air station, all the main ones, is currently showing the Shane Warne Memorial. And ironically, as Aaron said to me, if I wasn't doing the show, I'd be watching it too. So because we expect a lot of people to sort of bail out to watch that, which is completely understandable. I get it too. We're probably going to have a slightly longer show than normal because we thought, well, it's supposed to finish at 9 o'clock, as in tonight. So we've got another hour to go. With a bit of luck, people will come and join us after that and go, we watch the memorial, all good and proper. Now off to rip it off the card to hang out with a bit more, have more fart jokes or something. What do you reckon?
Well, you can never get enough fart jokes straight after a funeral, can you?
No, exactly right. So there's a few things I want to bring up, some amusing shit that's been going on. But anything that you want to sort of start off with before we go into the show proper?
This is a fully loaded show after last week being Rip It Off the Card light. So let's just get into it. What did you have to bring up?
Well, just to show, like, as people know, or people may not know, like I work in the store at an Aaron's Collectables on Saturday, and just to show how much of a prick of a bastard my boss is, right? He gives me a jigsaw comes in, right? And he says, "Oh, you need to know if it's got all the pieces." So instead of just counting all the pieces, he actually says to me, "Oh, take it home and see if you can make it, right? If you can make it, then obviously all the pieces are there, which is all pretty groovy, and that's this one right here, right?" And I think, well, that's a great idea, no problems at all. Mate, I'd forgotten how much I hate jigsaw puzzles. I suck shit at them big time, right? I couldn't get the edges. I had Lynn doing all the work for me, right? You'd think the word Star Wars would be shit easier to do because it's the STAR. And I'll tell you what, Aaron wanted to know in the end how many pieces are in that puzzle, right? And it's supposed to be 550. By the time I give it back to him, it's going to be effing nothing because I'm going to chuck it to the friggin' shit house because it's driving me absolutely batshit crazy. I mean, you look at that, right? That design, all these blues around here and all this glittery shit there and all this sort of crap over here. And we're luckily, this part here, the word Star Wars isn't even there. It's actually in the corner over here. We've got the explosion part over there and a couple of the lasers. It is driving me absolutely balmy. So yes, next time you want me to do a jigsaw puzzle, Mr. Aaron, you can shove it up your ass because I'm not having fun at all.
I don't remember the conversation going that way. I remember saying, "You're not into jigsaw puzzles, are you?" And you go, "No." And I said, "Well, I can't be bothered doing it, so I'm going to just chuck this in the $2 bin." And you go, "Oh, maybe I'll have a crack at it."
Yeah. Okay. And then I realized afterwards, just count all the pieces, 550, done, move on. So yes, I call it work. Hey, man, I put in a sweat. Don't you worry about that. But down the ladders, having a whale of a time. But yes, that's the saga I had with the old jigsaw puzzle. It's driving me absolutely batshit crazy at the moment. So there you go.
Dags would not be happy if I paid him to make Lego.
Well, that's exactly right. So it could be worse. I could get the job of cleaning or unboxing pops. So yeah, indeed. What's that? Mr. Vile, he said he took some daggy advice and took a piece out of the puzzle. Yeah, exactly right. So it's very funny. Now, as we all know, the whole thing with the Oscars the other night, right? And we're going to have a bit of a quick chat about this, right? Complete farce, right? You know, the whole what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock and whatever completely overshadowed the whole thing. Everybody knows what happened with those guys. What happened with the rest of the show? Nobody knows. Who won what? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. And this came out today. I don't even know if it's obviously a joke, but someone's already produced an action figure for us. There you go. What do you reckon, Mr. Aaron? That'd be in your store in a heartbeat, wouldn't it?
No, I don't know if it's photoshopped or a real thing that's already come out, but getting it done in a day is okay. I think I saw it coming up on Thomas's timeline. Yeah. Actually, and a couple of other people. There were memes aplenty all day as well. Did you see any good ones?
No, I haven't seen anything. I was sort of came in late.
I saw one good one. I know it's bad to describe a meme, but it was basically, you know how they both laughed a bit before they actually realized it was sort of a joke on them. It had a picture of Will Smith laughing and then Jada saying execute order 66, and then his face goes like mad and he gets up and slaps him, which I thought was quite a creative one. But I don't know if people know the reason why I wear a hat is because every time I take my hat off, Dags is always making jokes about me being G.I. Jane too.
Oh, that's a movie I'd love to see. Aaron Challenger is G.I. Jane.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't go and slap him. I turkey slap him, but that's not to do with the movie though.
Yeah. Is Aaron Challenger's G.I. Jane? He's got a grappling hook in one hand and a hamburger, and he's ready to party. So you can I can say whatever I want because you can't reach me from there, so it's all good. I love it.
So did you watch the Oscars at all? I didn't watch them this year.
No. Actually, I am a little bit pissed off about the fact that one incident has just overshadowed everything, right? And even in the promo images of the show, they've shown that main image of Will hitting Chris, and it's like the rest of the show doesn't matter. And then it was like it's just completely talk about upstaging to the point where it just impacts everything else. But what were you gonna say, man?
The only time I've seen stuff like that on the Oscars that I think is good is when Sacha Baron Cohen has done stuff deliberately that's upset people. I thought this was a bit over the top and out of hand for what it was. And if it really was upsetting, hug his wife, not hit the person who said it, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a million different ways of all could have been done, and the way it was done was not the right way. Thomas has said, absolutely fantastic. Telly Savalas remakes for you. Oh, I love that. I mean, I tell you what, you want to see Aaron with a chuppa in his hand, and I tell you what, when he sticks that in his gate and gives it a bit of a whirl around, that's what you call violating a chuppa. Hey?
Who loves you, baby?
Yes, you want to see Aaron violate a chuppa. I tell you what, that's even the vial can't handle that. Oh my goodness gracious me. All right. Very, very cool. Sorry, folks. I'm in Facebook. Well, you're here, so that's not a bad thing. So yes, very, very cool. But yes, that was the Oscars for you. I thought the La La Land cock up from the other year, a few years ago, was the biggest scandal of all time, but no, definitely not. Yes. So we've got a long episode for you tonight, mainly because Greg King's Cheaper Things is an absolute ripper, isn't it, Mr. Aaron?
It's a bumper crop of waterwall crap.
Very, very cool. Oh, here we go. Without the hat, you actually look more like Aussie Australia. Oh dear. Whose hands up your ass on this one, dude?
Well, all I can say is I'm glad you're so far away that you can't touch me.
Yes, exactly right. Very, very good. Nicely done. All right, I guess we should move on. It will be a little slightly later than usual because we've got so much to cover off. And yes, it is a part 2 of our Irwin Allen Collectables talk with the Land of the Giants, which is particularly groovy. But before we do that, got to get into something very, very exciting. It's time for the bit of this. All right, Mr. Aaron, what have we got, old son?
Well, there's a bit more of what we had last week, and there's a bit of stuff coming out from years ago, and there's some brand new stuff as well. So it's all over the place this week.
Tell you what, you're not wrong. And if I press the right button, we get into a bit of this.
Yeah, so last week we looked at the first wave of some new Godzilla figures that are coming out, which I was quite surprised about because they had Biolantis, which is the first time I've ever seen an action figure of it. And this week there's a couple more really amazing Godzilla action figures, which I think are pretty cool. Now, this is a Godzilla based on the 80s cartoon. I don't know if you remember Godzilla and Good Godzuki, that used to be on Saturday mornings and before school sometimes, but I don't know if they've ever done a cartoon version of the Godzilla figure before. Have you ever seen one, Dags?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it, no.
Yeah. So, no, this is the first time I think I've seen figures of the cartoon version. Now, possibly there is Japanese ones because Godzilla is so huge in Japan. I'm sure they've done just about versions of every single existing Godzilla, but this is the first mainstream one I've seen come over here, and it is a pretty cool figure, especially if you like your Godzilla's pea green.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, Chrissy's asked, and she's being serious, I think, is this a blow-up version? I think the answer is no, even though it does look like an inflatable version. What do you reckon?
It does. There is a couple of inflatable versions of Godzilla. We had one of our customers, Dicko, bringing in inflatable cricket players this week, didn't we?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, so yes, he'd actually bring in an inflatable thing of Shane Warne, so which is kind of ironic because almost the same height as Dicko was, so which was,
It
in itself
was.
was quite amusing. But yes,
But I think Russell was it. Russell used to take a inflatable Godzilla around everywhere during the 90s. So yeah, definitely there are ones around.
Yeah, the funny thing about the inflatable Godzilla Russell had that he blew it up and stuck it inside a hotel room one time, and I walked in the door and it was right behind the door and scared the absolute living shit out of me because it was so big. Now Thomas has come up with a very important question. We do have to tackle this one. So will we get a discount for rubbing the Aaron Buddha? So
only if you say Buddha 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 as you rub the belly.
Yes, I'm going to say Thomas.
Of course.
Thomas, you're going to have to take a number and wait in the queue, son. So, yes, Chrissy was wondering, yeah, thanks for the jokes. Yes, I mean, we take everything seriously here. What are you talking about?
Yeah. No one takes crude humor as seriously as the crew of Rip It Off the Card.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Now it's been just on a slight aside. We've got the vial file tonight, and I tell you what, kids, there are warnings aplenty for this one, even though we didn't do it, right? And in fact, the vial even said to me tonight he wants his own TV show, Dial V for Vial, which is absolutely fantastic. So, yes, magnificent. Glennis has joined us from good old YouTube. There is a big inflatable Godzilla. Yes, there is, and yes. And much like the prices, good old Godzillas are always inflated. Very, very cool. Speaking of which, we've got another one.
So this is in the same wave. This is a black and white picture because all the promo for this was black and white because this is the original Godzilla. I don't know if you can see it so well there. He's holding a plane that he's eating, I think, which is always cool when they give these extra little accessories.
Yeah, you know what? When I first saw this and I'm looking, what the hell? Okay, that's the plane. I finally figured out. I thought, what the hell's this bit up here? And it must be the smoke or something. I mean, that doesn't really look good at all. But anyway.
No, probably in color it might actually look better where you can see some flames and some smoke. So this is Godzilla based on the original movie. It's another really cool one. I think they've done a really good job in getting the scale, the figure, the head looks right, and all the spines down the back look good. Feet look really amazing. So if you're a Godzilla fan at the moment, there's all these amazing Godzillas coming out that you can collect. So usually we don't do news on the same thing 2 weeks running, but you don't see a lot of Godzilla. It's really, really popular, and there's a bit of stuff coming out at the moment that's really cool.
Yeah, it is very groovy, and it is. I mean, there'll obviously be Godzilla collectors out there and have been out there for a very, very long time, which is really, really good to see. It is a character who cannot fail. Good old Godzilla. So, yes, very, very, very groovy.
So, unless he's fighting Mecha Godzilla, then he might fail.
Exactly right. All right, so we're moving into something completely different now.
So this is another new figure that's coming out. This is not Biff, but Griff Tannen from Back to the Future 2. Comes with alternate head, Pitbull with power. The packaging actually has a diorama in the back of it. Now, NECA's been bringing out these Back to the Future figures a couple a year over the last couple of years. So they're now getting to some of the more interesting figures that maybe you didn't think would come out. And I think they've done a pretty good job for the scale. This is the same scale as Marvel Legends for anyone who wants to know how big it is. You can see when you get that scale, you can't always do the most detailed of sculpts, but I think everyone will be able to tell straight away that that is Griff, and that's from Back to the Future 2. And for anyone who is a Back to the Future fan, that's a really cool figure to add to your collection. What do you think about this one, Dags?
I'm just looking at the fashion. I'm thinking, yeah, people didn't really wear this sort of stuff in 2015, did they? But
I didn't realize until this figure came out that he had a radiation warning on his groin.
Well, he's what can I say? He's hot to trot. So there. And Leah, what's the deal with that?
Well, that's the diorama. That's the back of the packing that it comes in. So you can fold that out to display him in front of the future, which is now the past. Hill Valley Town Hall Square, which at the time was a lake.
So if you have a radiation warning on your pants, there's a lot of jokes there. It's like, come on over, girls. I'm ready to go off, if you know what I mean. It's going to be a blast.
More like warning, haven't been washed for 30 years.
Even I won't have to worry about respecting you in the morning because my fallout's going to be there forever. Jesus.
Oh no, you've snorted too early. You've prematurely snorted. We haven't even got to the vial file yet.
I had to think fast on my feet for those jokes. The ultimate pickup line is that a nuclear warhead in your pants. You're just happy to see me. Oh yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Want to check out my flux capacitor. Now here's a really interesting piece of art. So this is from Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, and it was produced by Drew Struzman way back about 20 years ago now when this movie came out, but it was unused as the poster. And now he has released it as a limited edition poster print that you can buy. I think there's a limit of 500 that are available. They're available through Vice Press as an exclusive, and they come with the Golden Army logo on it, or you can just get the clean art as well. Now, I'm a Hellboy fan. I don't think I remember seeing this art anywhere before, so I don't know if it was used just not as the main poster, but as some background material, or it's one that's come out of the archives and never has been used before. So it's really interesting because I think everyone would know he's quite a famous pop culture artist and is responsible for a lot of my favorite art, from Indiana Jones to Star Wars and a lot of other movies. So it's really interesting seeing a piece of art that is actually not current and I hadn't seen before coming out, and it's available as a collectible. So we haven't really done posters before, but that's a really cool piece.
Yeah, no, totally agree there. And Drew Struzan does have a very, very long history of doing some fantastic things. Now, there's some weird stuff going on in the conversations at the moment. So Christy has said she's passing on messages for Rusky Babes. So nothing, yeah, fair enough. So go figure that. So I don't know who's talking whenever that message has come through from Christy. Rod, good old Rod, Hellboy 2: The Golden Shower. Yeah, good on you, sir. So yeah, so very, very cool. And William said, Ron Perlman's a great actor, but he's lost his mind lately. Oh, okay, that's not good to hear. So yes, hopefully he gets well soon. So yes, very, very groovy, some fantastic artwork. But I tell you what is not fantastic is this
Useless Pop of the Week.
Now this is a different one. What do we got tonight, Mr. Aaron?
Now I have to shake my head at this. Now, a lot of people know I collect a lot of different things and I'm into a lot of things, but most people know that I love pop culture. Not as many people know that I absolutely love new romantic music, and my favorite band ever is Duran Duran. So I have to particularly hang my head in shame on this one, because Duran Duran had a series of pops made of them, which I have to say I did not buy because I don't collect pops. And now their latest video, yes, they are still making videos. They have used pops in the video to represent themselves rather than themselves. And they've gone back and they've done a video called Anniversary, which sort of refilms all of their, not all of them, but a selection of their old video clips with pops standing in for them. So if this isn't the useless pop of the week, this is the useless pop video of the week. It was quite a shock to see, and I was waiting for a new Duran Duran video and I got more pops. So maybe this isn't as useless to everybody else, but it was particularly biting to me. What do you think of people using pops to represent themselves?
So this was an official Duran Duran video. I thought some fan dude had made this.
This was, well, it was actually a fan-produced video, and they've adopted it as the official video for this song.
Okay. So is there any like animation, or they just stand still while the thing just plays?
No, they are actually I guess stop motion animated in some of the scenes. Pop music, yeah. New York, London, Paris, Munich, everybody's talking about pop vinyls.
Yeah, the cutting edge of phoning it in.
Yes.
I have no opinion. It's as simple as that. The fact that they've made a pops for the whole band, I thought they might have done it like a couple of the leads, like Le Bon and all the rest of it. But
because it's a new song, I didn't think we could play the clip because we'd get a strike straight away for using the music. But it was interesting. I don't know if I put any of the pictures up. Yes. For the girls and the models in the clip, they actually used Barbies, and I don't know if anyone knows the Girls on Film clip that was banned in just about every country in the world. Yes, there are nude Barbies in this clip reproducing the scenes from Girls on Film. So I don't know if that's useless pop of the week material or the Vile File stuff right there, but it was quite a shock to me, because just when I didn't think it could get any worse, it did.
Yeah, so it's a faithful reproduction, like the ones you said they reproduced actual videos. So they've come out really, really well, have they?
Yes, they look like they went to the original places where some of these things were filmed to put the pops there. Certainly for the Eiffel Tower and stuff like that to recreate the scenes. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's one of those things where I would rather see a Duran Duran clip and not have pops start invading the pop music video scene.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? If you despise, I mean, really despise pops, that would kind of piss you off. But by the same token, it's, I suppose, pretty clever too. So, we have Williams on the board, saving on the salaries, absolutely. So there you go. Chrissy said yes, definitely for the vial file. Planet Pop, Wild Pop, Hungry Ones, and Pop all there.
Well, I am actually going to go with ordinary pop.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, Rod's saying it's all about the COVID thing. Actually, maybe that's true. So
True. Yeah,
but
that's our useless pop of the week. I found that quite useless, and it's different from what we usually do as well.
yeah, oh, I love this one from you. I'm a Barbie girl in a Duran Duran world. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, it could be the start of a whole range of other people doing something similar. So be prepared for.
Do you know what's going to happen? Next year at the Oscars, the Will Smith pop is going to slap the Chris Rock pop.
Now, what happens if Duran Duran have made the video clip with the pop figures?
Yep.
Then fans say, well, we've got exactly the same figures. We'll do a fan film version of the video clip to replicate what they've done, right? So in other words, the fans are trying to copy what the official one does because they've actually got the pops that they can physically do it, right? So you'll actually have a fan film based off a video clip, which is all based on pops. How freaking ridiculous is that? So,
yeah. All I can see is Duran Duran pops doing a mild spike on eBay for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh my goodness gracious me. Well, anyway, by the way, was it actually worth it? Did it actually look good? I mean,
I was disappointed. I didn't think it looked that great, but yeah, it is what it is.
You have to grin and bear it. So part of you is going, yay, Duran Duran, ooh, boo, boo.
I'm like, yay, new Duran Duran single. Boo, pop.
You know what the worst part is? Even if you just listen to the song by itself, you were just thinking of all those pops running around on the beach and the naked Barbies and all the rest of it. So there you go. Got to take one for the team, old son. All right, I think it's time for a bit of this. Now, this is a very special one tonight, isn't it, Mr. Aaron?
It is. We got a lot of stuff turn up. So it's quite interesting, some of the stuff that we got. I know some people have gone, oh, I wouldn't mind that. Or when the Hobbit thing turns up, that's quite a cool thing. Or the Maltese Falcon's really nice. Or, you know, those plush toys, they look amazing. I'd love to cuddle up to those. So here we go, thrill seekers. We ordered prop replicas of the Maltese Falcon from one of our very favorite distributors in Hong Kong, China, or we don't know exactly where they pump this stuff out from. But this is what we ordered. The deluxe version of the Maltese Falcon that actually comes with a hidden compartment underneath where you can hide stuff yourself. It looks like the version in the show, in the movie. It's a very cool and iconic prop replica. Dags, there wouldn't be many more iconic props than that, would there?
No, they would not. And even I thought this looks awesome. If this turns up looking like this, well done. It's going to be a fantastic addition to the stall.
So this is what we ordered. This is what we got. Now, I have to say, it isn't the worst piece that we have ever got, in that it's a dragon. It looks like a dragon. It came in one piece. It actually was one of the few items that have come in a box rather than a sealed, just a plastic bag with bubble wrap. I thought when we opened it, it's really lucky the wings are still attached.
Quick, what you need to do is get a copy of the Maltese Falcon and digitally recreated by removing the falcon and putting the dragon in.
Yes, it is disappointing, because if something comes through and it's a crappy piece of tat that's in a bag, then I understand I aren't going to get the original prop. But this is as big and as heavy and came in a box as the original one. So when I opened it expecting to get the Maltese Falcon, I was quite, oh, you're so close. I was quite interested in, I was quite thinking, oh, we're going to get, this is going to be like the headpiece to the staff of Ra. It's going to be the genuine piece. And then And then even worse, it came in that bubble wrap that, you know, when you, not bubble wrap, foam, when you open it, it went everywhere. So everywhere I've taken it and taken it out, it's covered in all these little white pieces of foam.
All right, so we've got the correspondence that Aaron has from the company who we sent this stuff. There's a lot of text to read through, so you're gonna have to get through this pretty fast, and hopefully you can see it.
I will. Yes, I will read it as quick as I can. So apologies if I stumble over.
But yeah, if everybody out there, be patient, because it is actually worth keeping in touch with what's happening, because Aaron contacts them, they contact him back, and all the rest of it. So go for it, dude.
Dear Alex Express, I received the parcel from you and I was expecting a Maltese Falcon prop replica and a Lord of the Rings Hobbit home, and was surprised to find a decorative stone dragon. Unless Smorg has eaten the Maltese Falcon and destroyed Hobbiton, I think that you have sent me the wrong item. Can you please advise me on what I should do? All the best, Aaron. Hello there, friend. I'm sorry you are not happy with your order. Dragons are very lucky. And you have no Maltese Falcon, but you have the Maltese Dragon. Probably much better than what you could possibly have expected. I will personally look into your missing item and send a replacement home for the Hobbit. The team at AliExpress.
What an absolute classic. So they've already fessed up and said, nah, we haven't sent you the right item, but don't panic. You should be wrapped with what you got.
The Maltese Dragon. It's lucky and better than what I had ordered. Yes.
So sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well, I was like, they're saying it's better than what I expected. It honestly wasn't better than what I expected.
All right. So the key thing is, fans, the AliExpress, whatever they are, they're saying, no, they've sent you a really good item. You should be really happy with it. So let's see what happened next.
Dear AliExpress, I have looked on IMDb and cannot find a movie called The Maltese Dragon. Is it a Chinese movie? And am I Googling the wrong name? I am sad to inform you that there is a Maltese Dragon, and this is true because I actually looked it up, and that it has 7 heads. This means your dragon is missing 6 heads, so it isn't even a rare and lucky Maltese Dragon. Can you please send me the Maltese Falcon prop that I ordered, or the extra 6 heads for my lucky Maltese Dragon? How are you going on getting my Hobbit house sent out? I would really love to resolve these issues. All the best, Aaron.
Isn't that Maltese Dragon missing the 6? Imagine they got that and go, oh shit, we're missing the 6 heads. So it's just like that necklace. Oh, goodness gracious me. All right, so there we go. The molten mud. All right, so Aaron has sent through the message to them saying, "Oi, you've sent the wrong item, kids. You are Tom. You're right, Tom. It is hilarious, but it was also terrible at the same time, because these guys have not said, yeah, we've sent you a dodgy item. You're getting ripped off, right? So, yes, I love a try of 1,000. All right, so what do you think they said in their reply?
Hello there, friend. We guarantee you that the dragon you have accepted, I love how they put you have accepted, as a replacement for the Maltese Falcon prop replica is not missing any heads. It had one head, one tail, one leg, one hand. It's beautiful and lucky. The Hobbit home was sent with the dragon. It should be with you. Have you checked thoroughly inside the box? Maybe it is hidden in the packing. The team at AliExpress. Now, the box barely fit the dragon, so the freaking Hobbit home was not hiding in the box.
That's
whoa. That wasn't supposed to happen. Sorry. Hang on.
No problem. So the key thing there is now I've gone to accepting the dragon as a replacement for the Maltese Falcon that I had originally ordered.
Good stuff. Sorry, something happened then. I don't know what it was. If the sound happens again, we'll just have to put up with it. Okay. Hang on. So, yeah. All right. So, Gavin has said it's seriously ridiculous. Yeah, so I got that part. Yep. All right, good. Let's see what happens. It's probably because I copied it. Go on.
Sorry. It is seriously ridiculous, but it isn't the worst that we've had.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what happens here. So,
now
just ignore it. I've obviously copied a slide from somewhere else, so don't stress over it. Okay, and we move on. All right, cool.
So if you look on the side there, that is actually the Maltese Dragon. There's an old carving it is a 7-headed dragon. Dear AliExpress, I have not accepted your 1-headed dragon as a replacement for my item. It is missing 6 heads to be an authentic Maltese Dragon. I find dragons with 1 head an insult and pathetic, and this issue needs to be resolved. Also, I have thoroughly checked the box, and there is no hobbit home and no room for one. Unless the dragon ate it, it was never sent. If you do not send replacement for my item or give a refund, I will need to pass the case on to our internet investigator, the Soul Greg King, who deals justice to scammers and people that misuse the internet for criminal reasons. All the best, Aaron. Now, that's actually the last one. I haven't got a reply from them yet. I sent that yesterday, so usually it takes about 2 days to get a response. But we've got the man, Greg King, on the case for it, and it will be interesting to see if I do get the Hobbit home and if I do get a replacement Maltese Falcon, which I'm thinking I probably won't because they just would have sent it if they had anything like that to send. So what do you think about the correspondence? It's getting predictable how these guys operate, isn't it?
Yeah. Kevin said you're an ungrateful wretch. Yeah, absolutely love that. Gaslight by AliExpress. Well, yeah. So for people out there, be wary if you're going to deal with these companies. So yes, and they're definitely kidding themselves. So we know of the joke. We're aware of what's going on. But once again, it's that whole thing. People get sent the wrong item. Obviously, as you said, it's got a bit of weight to it. Would you send it back? What would you do? They're screwing people left, right, and center, and it is not good. Not by any stretch. Yes. So it's very funny. Christy has sent through a fun fact, and I realized it wasn't Christy who said it, was actually Russell who said it. So there you go. They're sort of like they're going through each other at the moment, which is kind of weird. They're scared of the soul, as they should be, scared of the Soul Greg King. So yes, exactly right. All hail the king. Very, very good.
He has been put on internet lists over there. This show has probably meant that he can't order anything for the whole of Asia for himself.
So what you need to happen is put the dragon in the store, and then people walk in and go, "Oh shit, you got a Maltese Falcon? That looks gross."
Well, the funny thing is, the dragon I'm going to use, as Christy suggested, as a way to display the Stargate necklace.
Yeah, actually, you could too. So there you go. But guess what, kiddies? That wasn't the only thing that turned up. Woohoo!
Now, a few people said they're really excited to see these when they turned up. I ordered some plush toys that are from probably some of the most beloved movies from the 80s, the Never-Ending Story and Labyrinth. And they looked quite amazing when I was ordering them. Now, there's a little preview in the top corner there. They did turn up. That's when they're still sealed in plastic. So they actually turned up, and I opened them, and what it reminded me of is how the rats turned up to be dissected when I was doing year 11 biology, like sealed in these like plastic sleeves. But you can't see too much there, so we won't give them away. So the next slide, I think, is what we were expecting and what we ordered. Now, again, there's some fantastic characters there. The first one is Sedidimus, which was listed as Squirrel when I bought it. And then you've got the Luck Dragon, which is kind of a cross between a dog and a dragon. I think that's quite amazing. And you can see that from what we bought, it looked quite posable, where it's curled up and laid down, and then it's got its arms up and its ears up, and it's curled up in someone's lap. So a really nice plush. And then the last one is the worm from Labyrinth, which is another fan favorite and has been released a few different times. So this is what we ordered. And I was thinking, being plush, we might get something close to those.
Now, remember, fans, there are people watching this show who said these things look awesome and were keen to get them themselves. So be wary of what you order, because it's not necessarily what you're going to get.
So this is what we got. The closest one, I have to say, was probably the Sedidimus. It doesn't look too bad in that picture till you realize it's a really cheap vac-formed body, and then the pieces of fur are just like little tiny pieces of fur that have been glued on over the top of the body. The Luck Dragon doesn't look like it's very lucky to me. It looks like it's been run over, actually. So a very bad Luck Dragon. Doesn't look anything like the one that was in the photos.
They've had to change his name from Falcor to Phil, because that's obviously Lucky Phil.
Not really. And we'll have a closer look at the worm from Labyrinth in a couple of slides. But basically, it can't be positioned. It can't be positioned. The details are actually,
God. Yeah, keep going.
The details are actually printed on So the first two, they do actually have faces with, the glass doll eyes and stuff like that. The worm actually is just a tube, I guess a soft tube that's got like a face printed on it, and then a couple of pieces of blue fur stuck to it. It is, quite nightmarish.
Yeah, you look at this dude here, right, and you go, he's been out on the town. It's been a bit of a hard day at pay outside the castle.
Yeah.
Oh, that is just too good. And we got a side-by-side comparison. There you go, kids.
Comparison. I guess it is a little bit hard to see some of them there. The Pseudidymus has massive hands. So when you see that big green mittens, it is huge hands. And what's really funny, the official one has, I guess, pearl buttons down the front of it and all these details. And the one that we got kind of just has all this random stuff stuck to it. It's quite a nightmare thing. So it actually looks better in those photos than it does in person. The luck dragon looks like it's got myxomatosis. It just is bad. It isn't something that anyone, I think, would think was really cute. I've got the head side by side, and it really doesn't look anything like Falcor. The snout isn't long enough. The eyes are quite weird looking. And then you've got the one laying down. It only really lays in the one position. You can't move it around. That's laying on top of a computer monitor. So basically it looks like almost a taxidermed piece rather than a stuffed toy. It's quite creepy.
So you're trying to tell me that they've officially got the old Greg King seal of disapproval, is that that right?
So let's give me the main screen, because
here we go, kids.
Here we go. So you can see it a bit better here. Underneath the fur, it is just sort of a solid, I guess, Cupid doll. You can see it on the nose, sort of plastic mold, and the fur is basically stuck on just in little patches all over it. You've got like these massive mitten hands. You've got the buttons that, are haphazard down the front. And I don't know if they're his knees that have risen or his balls that have dropped. But there we go. This is
you got another one. Hang on. Here we go. Yep.
This is
look at that.
Now, I don't know if anyone thinks you buy very lucky, but I don't think that is quite. Hey, it actually looks like a little bit like William's avatar there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I'm going to say it's tell you what, that does too. I'm going to say that Falcor's been chasing parked cars, that one.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The detail on the side of it is this glitter, which is basically 3 pieces of tape just taped to it in a triangle, which is quite cheap. The little you can move it, but they go straight back into place. They aren't good. But the one that is the most horrific.
And Bob's like, it's freaking me out.
And basically, it's like, kill me. Every moment I am alive is pain. But you can see that it's just like a material tube with the paint on, and they have a printed on, and they haven't even lined the face up properly, so it's all like deformed. It is quite a horrific piece. So if you wanted to buy something to terrorize your kids, these would be the plush toys for you.
I think that the Jim Henson Creature Shop clearly got it all completely wrong and should have designed it off these guys. So you're very good. What it does tell you, though, fans, is that Aaron's store needs to increase the size of the glass cabinet to display some of these items. So what do you reckon, old son?
Well, surprisingly, I had these in the shop and someone asked me if they were for sale. So there you go. They were super cheap as well. It's not like they were really expensive items. It is interesting that when I looked back to see who I bought them from, AliExpress were now selling these exact items as well. So I think all of those warehouses and distributors over there sort of just do round to round. And that's why I think we were banned off a lot of stuff, because we're getting a name for doing chargebacks.
The irony being, of course, you're getting a name for buying products that are not being sent to you. You're getting the wrong product sent to you, or inferior products. So you're the bad guy. Go figure that one, kids. So yes,
I know.
What was that? Natasha and the Little Dude has inspired her to mimic Davis' collection with terrifying knockoffs. Yes, exactly right. Very, very good. All right, so we're going to move on. So anyway, so it's obviously got Greg King's seal of disapproval, and that obviously means one thing.
Now that's Paul value.
Yes. So yes, we've still got stuff coming, and we've ordered new stuff. But the segment this week went for quite a bit, so we are going to move on and get onto that next week. But a good amount of stuff came back. I'm not sure if I will do a claim back on the plush toys because I guess we did get them, but they just aren't fantastic.
Yeah, indeed. And it makes for a great segment because, as we said once before, if the items turned up the way they were supposed to in this show, we wouldn't have a segment. Greg King would just be boring. So even if he's the soul. So yeah, you go. Yeah, you're right, Ange. Go out and slap someone. So yeah. All right. Now it's time for us to move on. I'm glad everybody's still watching because there's now time for what is clearly the most popular segment of the week. It is the Lord Vile's Vile File. And this one is an absolute shocker.
Now, when the Vile was sending me these items, I did not think we could do this show. Apparently, all the viewers have invoked his wrath because a couple of weeks ago, we did one which was just how the segment started a year ago, looking at toys that were not quite right. And everyone said, oh, that's a bit tame. And then because of that, we did last week's on comic books. And everyone said, well, that's a bit better, but it's still not up to the standard of the Vile. So we have now gone to one of the darkest, I guess, the darkest areas of publishing, children's fiction. And I tell you, yes, go ahead, Tags.
I'm glad Natasha is watching this because hopefully she'll read some of these books or introduce some of these books to the little dude.
So, like most of these things, we've got something from Scarlet Letters, which is the Vile mailbag, and this is again from Rico Sanchez, our friend who is from Aaron's Collectables. Dear Lord Vile, I really enjoyed the show last week and have another book to add to your library. Have you ever collected children's books? So Rico sent through a, do you want to play with my balls? Now, this is obviously a book aimed at younger children that don't have amazing language skills. The Vile has, in fact, got a whole wing in his house with children's books in because he often likes to lure children to the Vile villa. So you have to be prepared for these kind of things. He has like to cover for his Vile philandering. The Vile has philanthropically kind of set up children's literature program.
Oh God, we haven't started yet. Hang on. All right, you're right, Joe. This is an ominous beginning. Are you finished talking?
Yes, let's go to the first slide, which talks about the Vile's Vile vocabulary, a children's literacy program. All the books are handpicked by the Vile to I don't know if it's to expand or maybe groom young minds into the life of that can be easily violated, I guess. But the Vile is someone who does care about children, and that's why he's been able to give us such amazing books for this segment.
Very good. The film plays on the way to the Vile's house. Oh dear. All right, let's get into it. Here we go.
Okay, there's one there. The first one there is a bit of a Dr. Seuss book. It's Dick, What Did You Lick? Now, the amazing thing about this is Dick is licking a sausage under the table, like the little kid has a sausage and he's letting his dog lick the sausage. So Dick must be the sausage dog and he's licking a sausage. So Dick, what did you lick? That's obviously one for younger readers who like rhymes. But staying on the subject of Dick, the Vile has put one of his favourite pages from a Dick and Jane book. Look up, baby. Look up and see Dick. See Dick go up. See Dick go up, up, up. So that's one of those books. I think everyone had Dick and Jane books growing up. I don't know if they're still in print, but the file in his library has a lot of out-of-print children literature just to keep people from forgetting this stuff. There's another book there. It's Not Going to Get Any Better When You Grow Up. Now, that is a fantastic book to give any kids with low self-esteem. It just means that you don't set high expectations for children. So when they get older, that they're disappointed. If you let them know when they're really young that things don't get better, you're doing some pretty good vile parenting. And the last one we have on this page is 1, 2, 3, pull. Now, it's lucky for the chicken that they're pulling, because it looks to me like the bunny with the smile on his face could be doing a bit of pushing as well.
Bad Dags. What do you call this one right here? He's the double adapter.
So all of these books are available in the Viles library for any parents who wish to take them over, because remember, the Vile has all those clowns without working with children cards that can probably be teachers. And
oh, God damn it.
Okay, maybe we'll go to that.
Oh, God damn it. Oh, jeepers creepers. All right. Very, very good. Your innocence is shattered. We haven't even started. This is like the first page. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go.
Easing everyone in. Here is an interesting section that's in the Vile Villa library. A visit to the big house. And then that's with The Night My Dad Went to Jail. And one of the pages from another book there, it's a bit hard to read. It's grandma explaining, and then suddenly the firefly was gone, much like your dad. So it's one of those things where if dad isn't around and has been caught for various nefarious activities and has been removed for the family, the Vile has an entire set of books that help children deal with this kind of separation and trauma in the house.
Yes, The Night That Dad Went to Jail. That's a charming one, isn't it? Eh? So yes,
it is. Now there's one there especially for Colin. Who cares about disabled people? Yes, like the Vile likes for kids to be, caring and have empathy. So he has books like this. Now there's one in the middle there, which is probably for Dicko, The Mystery of the Midget Clown. Now I don't know what that book is about. I did look it up, and it is a real book. I can imagine that if you had The Mystery of the Midget Clown, it would be a child's favorite that they want to read every night. And then the one on the far right is Harpo's Horrible Secret. Now, I think Harpo's Horrible Secret is he is playing with little Johnny's rod. So they're going there.
Jesus. Isn't that you're going?
Yeah, I do think when they made this, like, they could have maybe put a slightly I don't know, more neutral face on Harpo. I suppose it's the grandparent or something. It is one of those books that I probably wouldn't buy just from the cover.
Isn't that absolutely a shocker? I mean, how could people not think that there's something wrong with that? I mean, if you want to teach someone how to fish, you don't stand like that. So I agree with you, Joe. I mean, that's actually a legitimate book too, by the way. So good on you. Prince has got the wrong Prince, dickhead. So yes, reel it in. Absolutely fantastic. Oh my goodness gracious!
If you want to feed a child for a day, you give them a fish. But if you want to groom a child, you play with their rod.
Jesus Christ. You're a shocker, dude.
Okay, so here's some interesting ones. These are lyrics in some of the Vile's favourite books. One of them is from a Mr. Rogers book. Now, we don't really know Mr. Rogers so much in Australia. This is a real book. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. It was so good. Mr. Rogers forgot all about being angry.
Indeed.
Okay. I think my favorite one, because I really love sayings and fables and things that teach you something. And the one on the top right there is probably one of the most profound things that has ever been said on the Vile file. A morning of awkwardness is better is far better than a night of loneliness. A morning of awkwardness is far better than a night of loneliness. And the great thing about that is the little kid who's putting his Dax on while the sheep in the background is watching. And then there's one about rafting there. This is hard, panted Ben. Take it, Jen. Not yet, please, moaned Jen. So that's obviously one of the more important exchanges that happens in the book. And then there's the one with the little horse there, which is a real book, but I don't even know what it's about. But it's called The Confusing Tingle. Now, I'm sure when you go to the Viles house, there's a lot of confusing tingles. I think that's the like the Peter Tingle, isn't it, from the Spider-Man movies?
Yes, exactly right. Oh dear. Oh yeah, Mr. Rogers overestimating the potential. Jesus Christ. Oh, God damn it.
Okay, so everyone's favourite steam engine is Thomas. Here's the page from the Thomas the Tank Engine storybook. But Thomas was waiting at the harbour for a special load. Suddenly, there it was. Oh dear, gasped Thomas.
Oh.
Now, there's a book here that teaches kids, up and down, in and out, stop and go, plug and unplugged. Now, I didn't know that butt plugs came elephant-sized. You learn something every day from children's book. There's a real book there called Why Mummy Poisoned You. Now, that's not a ladybird book or a little golden book, but it obviously must have been a big seller. And on the other side there, it's got Turtle Sleep. Yeah, that's how turtles sleep.
What was I saying about the one in the middle?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there. That felt good. Yeah, exactly right. Oh, dear. It's just, yes.
Oh, well, that's quite confronting, isn't it? It's often confronting when Grandma puckers up and gives you a big sloppy kiss. That's one of the Viles' favourite pictures. It might actually be it might actually be a relation, because if you look at that, you can see the glasses and the hair kind of look like what the Viles.
I just got the joke. They did some pizza in there or something. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So, yes, that's quite a suspicious looking Grandma puckering up for a kiss right there. But do you know what Grandma likes to do when she cooks? She likes cooking with Pooh. And it's good to see that Pooh is cooking there. And we do have to wonder what the little brown bits in that mixing bowl are. And down the bottom, it's another one that's a little bit hard to read. It's George was fond of looking in the window.
No, it's peeking in windows.
Oh, peeking in windows.
Oh, peeking in windows.
George is fond of peeking in windows, which is another one of those things that the Vile likes to teach kids how to do when they're really young.
How about that? Yes, they're the special chocolate chips. Are totally exactly right. So, yes, and when you run out of chocolate chips, I'll just go, I'll be back in about 20 minutes. Here's some laxatives. We're good to go. So, yes, exactly right. To have peeping George. Yeah, absolutely love it.
Now, for older readers, we've got a fantastic story here from one of those books that has, lots of different stories for children. It's called The Chocolate Cock. Once there was a piece of chocolate in the shape of a cock. The chocolate cock stood right in the middle of a sweet shop window, and all the children came to look at him. He was very proud of himself indeed. I am the chocolate cock, he crowed. I am the chocolate cock. I am the handsomest bird in all the world, for I am the chocolate cock. Now, after I have read that, I'm sure you'd all love to read the rest of the story, wouldn't you? But we haven't got enough time, because we've got to point out the other books here. So You've Got a Fat Pussy. Now, that's one of those books that I guess if you've got kids and you want them to look after their pets, they will be able to recognize how much to feed them and how how you keep them fit rather than getting them overweight. Now, I actually kind of remember having this book. It's a Ladybird book for anyone who remembers those series of books for kids. Teddy Bear doesn't like to get in the tub himself. He would rather sit on the edge and watch. and you've got Teddy there watching the little girl have a bath. So, yes, the Vial has some amazing books in his collection.
That teddy bear one is wrong, isn't it? Because that is bad. That is
Well,
that. I mean, that is bad.
Yeah, and the teddy is like grasping going grasp the I guess the faucet like it's some kind of weird glory hole in the middle of the storybook.
Yeah, exactly. What's Teddy doing? I mean, that is actually a shocker. So, and the fact the girl's in the bath, and that's bad. Unbelievable. So, what are you trying to tell us about all these particular books in the Vials collection, Mr. Aaron?
So, if you go down to the woods today, don't go with the Vial, because all his storybooks, although 100% genuine and 100% innocent when they were written, have now been violated.
Absolutely unbelievable. And I have no idea how you're going to top that next time, but that's yeah.
It does get to the point where you're like, how far can we push this boat out before the police come and raid us?
Yeah, well, it's you're right. It's a good point. But by the same token, I mean, for people who are watching this, we didn't make this stuff. This is legitimate products that are sold right now. Sure, everything's open to interpretation, and you can sort of spin things how you want them. But there's definitely some images there, and you go, you know what? That is really pushing the barrow of going, all right, this is heading into really, really dark territory. We just happen to be bringing it up. So it'd be different if we were creating it ourselves, but we're not. So
yeah, we're not. Well, there are actually, parody children's books, Go the F to Sleep and stuff like that. But we don't look at that. We're looking at real, genuine children's books that were made. I think the Chocolate Cock one is amazing because when rooster just isn't a good enough word.
Yeah, exactly right. And just getting back to Mark's comment, it's kind of funny because obviously things have changed. Maybe a lot of these things were written a long time ago and people didn't sort of think about it then. But still, by the same token, when surely you don't need to have a bit of like an absence of common sense to go, okay, teddy bear's looking at a naked young girl in a bathtub, and you are right. He's about to grab the metal thing hanging out the top and then go, it's just not right. Yeah.
You do wonder when they were writing that if they were having a good joke, a good laugh, or they just were really innocent. I don't know. I kind of think some of them were probably innocent and some of them, the writers knew exactly what they were doing when they wrote them.
They're going full Vial. Don't forget, the Vial did say he wants his own TV show, Dial V for Vial. But you do wonder, eh? And I think kids will probably pick up on some of that stuff too. But I don't know, dude. But I reckon, if those books were being released today, it just wouldn't happen. People say, nah, that is just wrong. But I mean, they should have thought of that when they first got released. So,
well, now they're more about banning books, aren't they, than publishing anything that could get them in trouble.
It'd be kind of ironic. You'd have a scenario where someone says, "Oh no, that's got like racial overtones or whatever." You go, "Hang on, that's not as bad as like freaking a teddy bear looking at a girl in the bathtub." So,
you probably
not to worry. So,
you probably couldn't do the Chocolate Cock anymore. It would have to be something that wasn't black or brown. It would not be able to be chocolate. If they ever did a adaptation of the Chocolate Cock, it'd probably have to be on the BBC, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably. Good on you. All right, have we all taken a bit of a deep breath after all that? Because I think we've all been violated one way or another, and it's time to move on to something else. So, and of course, believe it or not, it's time for this. Ooh, baby, do you know that's what... I just realised there was a Maltese Falcon on the left-hand side. It should look like a dragon, dude.
Yes, I should have changed it for this week. So this week, this week is an interesting one because I've decided to highlight collectibles from Shane Warne. And one of the things that I have seen, and I think it's a bit morbid with collectibles, is when someone passes away, you often get a lot of people who are opportunists then putting the price of all that stuff up, listing it on eBay, going around shops and buying it up really fast. And I noticed this when Carrie Fisher passed away. For the week afterwards, like all the Princess Leia merchandise we had sold. And we had people going in and saying, are you putting the prices up? Are you putting the prices up? We're like, no, I'm not happy that she's passed away. And I think it's quite, bad when people do that. Nevertheless, when you have an open market like eBay and people can bid on stuff, you do see some crazy prices. So this isn't in any way mocking Shane Warne. This is just sort of paying respect to him by having a look at some of the collectibles that have been inspired by his time as an Australian cricketer.
Yep, and for that reason, so instead of 5 items, we've got 6 this time around, and so we're going right off track from our normal pop culture thing, and so we're just picking up some items that people have decided to sell, and so it will be an interesting sort of look to see what people bid on these things, because clearly, look, for a lot of us, they're going to be right out of our bailiwick, but we'll give it a bit of a burl, and the idea being, of course, that you just put down the price of what you think these things are sold for. So we're going to kick it off with this.
So this is a 1998 cricket pog. And it is, of course, number 36, which is Shane Warne. So pogs are, I guess, a bit like trading cards, where they are discs that you could collect, or there was a game you could play with them as well. They were kind of big for a couple of years and then kind of disappeared again. Other companies sort of did knockoffs. Most people would know Tarzos that came in chips for a while as well. This was a series from, the late 90s that had... the Australian cricketers as one of the series you could collect, and this is the Shane Warne one. So,
go on.
So we're starting off our Warnie merchandise with the Pog.
Yeah, and as Aaron mentioned, a lot of stuff will be available at the moment because, yes, unfortunately, people do try to cash in on someone who's passed away. So Anne said $7.50. I'm sure he's going to want to change that, but we'll stick with that for the time being. Governor said $6, violating $23. Very, very good. That's very, very clever. Moneybag Sullivan has said $5. Thomas is at $1.25. Kevin's at $7. Natasha and the little dude is at $3. Mark is at $50. Bob is at $30. And Greg has said $2. So the irony being, of course, that and this is the key thing of why we're doing this right now. This item, had it sold like 3 weeks ago, may or may not have only just got a fraction of what it's sold for now, or it may have still been exactly the same. So, but it would be interesting to see if there was a price jump because of the recent passing of Shane. So there you go. Christy said 50 cents, and Angie's still happy to stick with 750. All right, very, very cool. All right, so Cricket Pog 1995. Obviously, Shane Warne's one. How much do you reckon it went for? It is used. There were 6 bids, so there's obviously a bit of interest in this, and went for $5.50.
So we had a $5 and a $6. So we're going to have to rip it in half and share it.
Who had 6? I did see that. There was 6 and out, Gavin. Yeah. So you guys are going to have to split between the two of you. Very, very cool. So obviously, so do you reckon like a couple of weeks ago this would have been worth $6 or not?
I think it. I don't know. I did do ones. I tried to look at the dates and after he'd passed away, just so we got some interesting like bids. I do think these were one of those things that were probably no one would buy at all. And now, people will go after the Shane Warne ones. So I don't know. That's probably what it's worth. I wouldn't pay much more than that for it.
Yeah, you do wonder how many people are going to go in the zone buying this stuff because of Shane's recent passing, and then like 1 year from now, the stuff is completely worthless. So, anyway.
So here's a really interesting one. We've talked about, breakfast cereal memorabilia before. This was a series of tins that Weetabix did where you could buy a collectible tin, and they've done a couple. This was the Australian cricketing tin that, of course, has Shane Warne. Now, you can tell that this is sort of a cash-in because usually they might not put Shane Warne in the title of the auction. It might be Weetabix Australian Cricket and things like that, but it's obviously targeted at people that are looking to grab some memorabilia from Shane Warne because he's a favourite cricketer and he's just passed away. So, again, this is one of those interesting items. I've got to say, I don't really specialise in this area, so I would have no idea what this was actually worth.
I like how you keep saying Weetabix when there's no A there. I mean, in England, they call them that.
I'm British. I grew up on Weetabix. Natasha knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly right. So there you go. William said 25. Angie's at 72. Gavin's at 60. Moneybag Sullivan's at 20. Thomas is at 70. Chrissy's to 34.50. Mark is at 10. Excuse me. Kevin is at $50. So it is sort of an interesting sort of marketing thing, isn't it? And whoever had this has probably had it stashed away and they said, oh my goodness, there's a reason now to sell it. So you do wonder, excellent condition used. I'll make of that what you will. And there are 2 bids for this as well. Bob has said $50. So there you go. And Kelvin, I don't know if I mentioned Kelvin, said 50 as well, which is very, very groovy. All right. So how much you reckon it rent for? Very, very cool. Shane Walker Cricket Weet-Bix tin. So of all the team, they happen to focus on him. There it is. Very, very groovy. And it went for $6.50.
Now, if I was being a cynic and saying I'd pick up something that I think would be worth more, I reckon if you picked that up for $6.50 and probably whacked it on eBay again for $49, buy it now, someone would buy that. I thought that was quite cheap for a Weet-Bix collectible tin.
Yep, I would agree with that too, actually, because it wins on two fronts. One, it wins on the Shane Warne scenario, but also wins on the Weet-Bix packaging thing. So,
and if you're looking at Spankin slipping it in, it's the type of collectible that you can hide other collectibles inside.
I never thought of that. Hey, Spankin.
Yes.
Can't help sometimes. Yes, you could actually. So, yeah, and once again, I am intrigued to see whether these things will increase in value or just plummet over the next coming months. So, oh, look at this. Check this out.
So this is Shane Warne's Rajasthan Royal signed shirt giveaway memorabilia. So not being one who is into sports myself, what do you think of this, Dags? Can you give a better description than me for this one?
Yeah, I can imagine this would be very popular, not for Australians, but for It's Pakistani, I think it is, or Indian. I think it's one of the two. I'm not very good. I think it's Indian. The Indian team, the IPL. Yeah. And of course, Shane was revered over there in the IPL. So yeah, over there, it would probably have a huge following. Not so much here. People here would prefer to have an Australian shirt, a cricket team shirt, than the IPL version. But yeah, and if it's actually worn by him and signed and all the rest of it, yeah, you can imagine there'd be some coin associated with this. Very, very groovy, which is kind of ironic because the amount of shirts that cricketers wear over their entire careers, there's stacks of them, really.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew said 3. Thomas has said he missed Spankin the Monkey. There was a comment here about the Weet-Bix tin. Christy said they're normally around 20, 30 marks. So the fact that it went so cheap is really surprising. So who knows? Maybe pick up in price as time goes on. That was a previous one.
Yeah.
Andrew, sorry, you want to say something?
No. I agree with Christy. Sorry.
Very good. Okay, Andrew said 300. Okay, Marcus said 500. Moneybag Sullivan is 450. Garvin's is at 600. Thomas is at 300. Chris is at 280. Williams at 350. Thomas, he's changed it to 3,000. Add an extra 0 at the end. Why not? Kelvin is at 650. Bob is at 360. And the violating the IPL all by himself, is the vial of $5,000. Very, very cool. 55 bids. So there's definitely a bit of interest in this, and it was signed by him as well. So, yeah, they do sell a lot of merchandise over there for the IPL, etc., and there's a big demand for it because obviously India's got a gigantic population and they're very big cricket supporters as well. So how much do you reckon it went for? It is used, signed by Shane himself, etc., looking very, very groovy. It went for a whopping $20,000. Holy guacamole.
Now, that is a lot of rupees if you're in India. Now, this is one of those things which is very interesting to me because I was looking stuff, and you can look at the previous 3 months of stuff that's sold on eBay. You could have picked this up a month ago, still expensive, but for about $5,000. So
yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so they were going for $5,000, and now he's passed away. They're going for $20,000.
And that's the nature, as you said, of how things work. The moment someone passes away, and obviously they've cashed in on the interest of the guy at the moment. I would argue that maybe in a couple of years' time it'll drop a bit, but it'll still have a fair bit of value associated with it. So the vial has got it, but he's still got to cough up an extra 15 grand. So yes, Thomas, yeah, they're all under $19,500 short. Yeah, exactly right. Absolutely. Hang on.
Yeah, 1,141,062 rupees. That is a lot of rupees if you're in the black hole of Calcutta.
Yeah, and it's not it's rupees, not whoopee, from Phantom Menace. There you go. Very, very good. Oh, there's a question: what's his balls worth? We'll find out in a moment because that is one of the items. All right, so there you go. Oh, check it out, kids.
Now, this is another one that was probably quite interesting. This is Shane Warne's game-used, hand-signed Cricket Australia Test helmet with a certificate of authenticity from the Albion Ashes. I'm not sure, again, because I'm not a sports person. What does that mean to you, Dags? Is that a good piece?
I don't know what the Albion Ashes. It may have been the sponsors, actually. So the Ashes are possibly, I'm suspecting, would have been in England when they played over there last. So yeah.
Suddenly, everyone is putting in higher bids this time.
Yeah, there's a lot more numbers being put into the thing. Yeah, getting a helmet at the best of times is actually really, really groovy, especially if it's actually hand signed and if he actually wore it as well. That's actually very, very groovy. So, all right. So Angie's decided to kick it right upstairs at all these zeros, 34 grand. Thomas at 7, Gavin is at 600. Natasha and the little dude is at 45 grand. Oh, these big numbers, mate. 45,000 and whatever for Christy. C&D, Albion is the manufacturer. Oh, okay, thank you very much for that, Joe. Hang on, where are we? Spankin, by the way, Spankin has his birthday on Friday. For everybody who wants to wish Spankin happy birthday, he said 35 grand. Williams at 55. Mark is at 5,000. A tin of baked beans. Moneybag Sullivan's at 40,000. Kelvin's at 15,000. Bob is at 25,000. Glennis is still on YouTube, is at 10. Oh, big numbers, mate. Violating this helmet as one should is the Violet 3,500. The little dude says 1 dummy and 3 business. Well, he's got the dummy because Spankin's sitting right next to him. So there you go. All good stuff there. So you always got room for a joke. Shane Ward, game used hand side cricket helmet. Oh, yeah, I reckon there's a few dollars chucked in for this one. Very, very cool. All right, so how much you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $8,000 round figures.
Now, interestingly for me, just as a collector, I preferred this to the shirt because shirts are just like very hard to display. And I also like it has the Australian coat of arms on as opposed to the shirt just has a lot of sponsoring.
Yeah, well, as I said, the shirt was from the IPL, so it would have more for that. Thomas is at 7. He's still got to cough up an extra 1,000. I think you might have it, Thomas. So, yeah, I think we'll go with that. Yeah, there you go. Moneybags has said that's a bargain. Yeah, I would actually argue that's indeed. So,
yeah,
good stuff. So, yeah, very, very cool. Thomas, yeah, you did get it. You got more than close, Thomas. You actually got it. So, yeah, very, very cool. Did you mention the baked beans were magic? Absolutely love it. Very, very cool. But I agree with you. Yes, having an Australian test helmet with the coat of arms and everything, yeah, definitely the better of the two options. So, even if you can't wear the helmet around the streets as per normal, it's definitely not into a bank, that's for sure. All right, speaking of, here we go. Here's the ball.
Yep. Speaking of balls, here is a genuine signed cricket ball from Shane Warne with a certificate of authenticity, which, I think anyone can print out a certificate of authenticity. But this one had a lot of bids. And usually, if you're a bit of an expert, you can tell if a autograph is genuine just by looking at it or not, just because if you were a fan, you've studied this a lot before you want to lay out money on your investment. So how much would a genuine signed Shane Warne cricket ball go for now?
Yeah, it's tricky because if it's just a random ball that he signed, it's worth something. But if it was actually used in the match, and it clearly isn't because it's brand new, then it'd be worth a shitload more. And if it was one of the ones he took a wicket with, then the price goes up again. Also, William made a point about if it was a baggy green instead of the helmet. Yeah, you're right. You'd add extra zeros on top of the price. I did actually get to ask Michael Clark one time in person, how many baggy greens do the players have? And they said they just get one. Right, and that's it. And they just wear the same one the whole way through, except he had 2 because he had one when he became the captain. So, yeah, they are rare as hen's teeth, but as opposed to the helmets, which are not so much. All right, so the ball. Angie's kicked us off at 30. How's this for a contrast? Angie's at 32,000. Gavin has said 60. Oh, there we go. Thomas is at 12,000. Kelvin's at 1,000. Natasha and the little dudes at 5,000. Moneybag Sullivan, yeah, it wouldn't be a game cricket ball, it's probably just the generic one that they've got. You'd know if it was a game one, it'd be all bashed to bits. Spankin says 1,500. Christy said 15 grand. 2,500 for William. Moneybag Sullivan is at 950. Bob has said 2,000. Mark is at 3,000. Violating his balls is a 4,500 wheat bucks. We're in New Zealand all of a sudden. So yes, it's just a generic ball. Yeah, and it's potentially
I actually think the vial cheats. The creature is whispering the answers into his ear by the looks of things.
Yeah. Oh, I just realised this is from a T20 match too, by the way. So, so it's a limited overs one. There'd be hundreds of these floating around probably. And Glennis has said 2,000. So there you go. Very, very cool. All right. So, but I do think, as we mentioned earlier, that 2 weeks ago, the price of this would have been lower. And as of today, it's gone up even a little bit. So how much did it go for? $1,225.
Now, this is one of those interesting things because you know how cricketing is merchandised and there are official sellers of cricketing merchandise. This is a ball that you could buy up until Shane Warne passed away. And if you go and look at the sold items on eBay, there was a set price buy it now that they were going for, and they sold, 30 or 40 of them in the months before he passed away, $395.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all about the signature of a deceased person that makes all the difference. Now, Kelvin said 1,000. Spankin said 1,500, and I think Kelvin is closer of
Calvin
the two.
is
So
a hair closer, so he's got Shane Warne's ball.
yeah, there you go. So there you go, Kelvin. Only by a few bucks, but yes, indeedy, doody, didy. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And it's just the nature of the beast. And ironically, the sad part is that, like, when you get some signatures from celebrities, like at pop culture expos and whatever, some people are sitting there waiting. It's like, oh yeah, when that celebrity passes away, stick it on eBay, push the price up, and away you go. And everybody will have plenty of signatures that they could sell. You going to say something?
I also think that so many of these were sold. There is a price spike now, and I do think they will even back down. So if they were going for $395 and they're now going for 1,000, in about 3 months, I think they'll be going for about 500. They'll be up, not as much as now. Did you see on the news the guy that bought the game ball in America, the person who retired for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then he came out of retirement and his ball was devalued literally by hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Oh, that was the Brady guy. Yeah, that's
Brady.
right. Yeah. I mean, how would you be? Yeah, you'd be. Really,
I know.
Not good at all.
Married, Sorry, I was going to say a joke about Marsha Brady, but I won't.
All right, very, very cool. Now, because a cricket over has 6 deliveries, 6 balls, we've got a bonus one. This one actually is a bit more pop culture related, so hopefully, guys, you're a little bit dialed into it. So we've got the bonus one.
This is an interesting one, and out of all of the ones that we have seen, this is the one that probably interests me the most, and I think is the rarest. This is a Sega Mega Drive, and this was a Sega Mega Drive that came packaged with Test cricket, and it was Australian cricket themed. So this is quite an Australian unique item, and it is also a rare item because I've never seen this version of the Mega Drive before. Now, with the other stuff, you get sports people who collect it, but this crosses over into people who collect vintage gaming and video gaming as well. So this is a bit of an unusual item.
Indeed. I mean, even I was surprised to see this. I go, okay, it's like there's like 11 dudes on a team, and they're just saying, no, we're just going to focus on the one. So Shane Cricket, very, very cool. Well, all right, and just said, and it is used, so make of that what you will. 20, all these 2, 666, whatever's. Chrissy's at all the 666s, a lot of weird numbers going on. Moneybag Sullivan's at 2,500. Gavin's at 6,000. You are right, for nerds and cricket fans alike. People who collect Sega Mega Drives would have to have one of these in their collection. Kelvin's at 3,000. Thomas is at 1,300. Bob is at 12,000. Mark is at 1,000 round figures. So you look at it from the point of view of saying, okay, what's it worth as a Sega Mega Drive, and what's it worth if it has Shane's name and face all over it. Williams at 3,500. It makes you wonder how many of these they produced as well. Violating this would be the Viola 2,300, and also, and the little, and you do wonder if there'd be a bigger market in England. Natasha said that Spankin has said 1,800, and Natasha herself and the little dude is a 2,000, which is very, very groovy. So, the Shane Warne cricket variant. How many weird variants would they have done, do you reckon, dude?
They've done so many. I think I've seen a lot of them. Then something new will turn up that I've never seen before. I'd say there's probably maybe 10 to 20 variants of the box with specific games on, and probably more if you go worldwide and look at all the different country-specific variants.
I wouldn't be surprised if whoever owned this said had the game, they had the box and all the rest of it, and as soon as like Shane passed away a week or two back, they said, "Shit, and we've still got the box. Quick, shove it in, stick it on eBay. We'll make a fortune out of it."
Well, yeah, I do wonder if you grew up in England, if there was the English team version, and if you grew up in other countries, if there were themed Mega Drives for that country, like the McDonald's posters, for the World Series cricket.
And because they're cheapskates, what they do is they just digitally remove the guy's head and put another dude's head on it because the shirt looks pretty generic. So they just replace it with Ian Botham's head or something, and away they go. All right, how much they go for box Mega Drive 2 Shane Warne version? It went for $600. Is that all? Chuck it away.
I actually thought of all the stuff that there was there tonight. That's the one I would probably have bought because I don't think that's, you know, a bad price, and I think it'd possibly go for more than that. Not just because Shane Warne has passed away, just because gaming stuff tends to appreciate in value.
Well, nobody was even remotely close.
Yeah, 999. Did someone say
1,000.
666? I think.
Not that I could. Oh, hang on. No, that was Christy. She put 6,660. So it might be yours, Mr. Mark. So there you go. Very good. I'll only work if the player was a spin bowler, had boom tish. So yes. And yeah, Christy, yeah, it's only shown the box, not the console.
The great thing, if you wanted to get the Indian version, you just need like a brown texture, and you can, you know, blackface it up. And
that is not very nice at all. So yes, good on you, dude. We've had such a good show, and you've decided to.
And I've ruined it because, like, I came up with the chocolate cock.
Exactly right. Now
you can't have the chocolate cock and Marsha Brady in the same show. That's why I didn't go with the Marsha Brady joke.
Yeah, good on you. I'll be with you in a sec, kids. Oh, wrong plan. Oh man, I can't find. I was supposed to have downloaded the thing today, and I can't remember where it was. Oh, here we go. All right. All right. What are we doing? You wanted to
get on for our main feature. I think, aren't we now?
Yeah, hang on. I'm getting there. All right. So, g'day, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Absolutely fantastic. So, yay, team. We are deliberately running behind time because we're obviously up against the memorial, which is still going. Actually, you might have finished by now. So, hopefully, some people have joined us after that. So, yes, very, very, very bold, googly when you bold. Yeah, it's very funny. The googly is a cricket term, and of course, you Google something. So, you have to Google what a googly is. Yes, indeedy, doody, doody. So there you go. Why is everybody talking about Marsha Brady? So what's the deal with that? What unbelievable. All right, it's a time for our feature presentation. And obviously from last week's saga, we're continuing on into our worlds of Irwin Allen. Is that right there, Mr. Aaron?
We are, and today we were meant to do both of them last week, but because of all the drama with the car going through the window of the shop, I didn't have time to do a fully loaded show, so we got a cut down. And this week we're looking at the Land of the Giants, one of my favorite shows growing up.
All right, going to cut it there. I didn't realize how long it was. So, yeah, very, very cool.
I just wanted to play that because one of the things we've talked about the last couple of shows, but we haven't actually shown any of it, is John Williams of Star Wars fame was Johnny Williams back in those days, and he did the opening title music for both versions of Lost in Space, both versions of Land of the Giants, the Time Tunnel, and not the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Well, has someone said that the opening to that had a fat pussy and a giant beaver in?
Because that was so yeah, exactly right. For that, if you're watching this on a replay, that's referring to a previous segment on a previous. Yeah, just ignore it, okay?
Yes,
unbelievable.
So when I was growing up, I love all the Irwin Allen shows, and probably Lost in Space is my favorite now. But when I was growing up, Land of the Giants was my favorite show. And I have just rewatched the entire 2 series over the past week. And I can understand as a kid why I thought it was fantastic, because it really does capture the imagination. It is one of the Irwin Allen shows that has a lot of original effects in every episode. A lot of shows he did reuse the same special effects, but there's a lot of practical effects. And I can remember as a kid just being in awe, looking at these little people running around under, desks and through streets that were giant, and still watching it holds up because the effects were practical. There isn't a lot of dodgy compositing or CG that doesn't. You actually believe that they're running around in a giant universe, and the way that it's shot, where everything is from above, it does a great job. Now, when you watch it, it's quite a slow show. Every episode, they get captured and they have to use giant, things around them to get out of being captured and all of that. And it is quite show. But I remember being just in awe of seeing things like the giant cat, where you would see a cat and then a giant paw that they'd actually made would actually come in and slap them for real, kind of thing. And it's interesting, Dags, out of all the Irwin Allen shows, this is the show where the actors had the most injuries, broken limbs, broken ribs, concussions and stuff, because they actually made them do all their own stunts, which is unusual. But I guess if you want realism and you're working with giant props, it happens. Do you have any memories about Land of the Giants?
No, not really. I saw bits and pieces of it, but because it was in the 70s and I was pretty young back then and I was doing a whole lot of stuff anyway, I didn't watch a lot of it. So, but what I did see, I quite enjoyed. So, yeah.
So, anyway, Land of the Giants was the third Irwin Allen show out of his sort of 4 big classic shows from the 60s to be produced. The other ones we've gone over. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Time Tunnel was last week, and we will look at Lost in Space, and that might take two shows because there is a lot of memorabilia for Lost in Space. But tonight we're looking at Land of the Giants. Land of the Giants, you can see the giant hand there where they really did make giant props. And I can imagine when you watch 60s TV and what was around, this would have been quite amazing to watch at the time because there was a lot of money that seemed to be spent on this show. Irwin Allen often used sets and props from other shows, but because this was a totally different concept where you had miniaturized people, I don't think he could have walked into the prop department and taken much of this off the shelf. It would have all been original stuff, either made for this or maybe hired from prop companies that had done, the Incredible Shrinking Man or stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see like the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man being an inspiration for this particular show, because the idea of having humans running around in these gigantic sets with these gigantic props would have been cool. And then, of course, ironically, as you saw in the trailer or in the opening sequence, the whole thing with the cat, chasing the people. And of course, there was a cat sequence in The Incredible Shrinking Man as well, because it's one thing to have large humans versus tiny humans, but it's another thing about tiny humans dealing with nature and animals and all the rest of it, because they obviously you see things in a completely different perspective. So I can see that being a very, very big inspiration. So very grippy.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's still very well done, and it's 60s, so it's a little bit dodgy, but it still holds up a lot better than other 60s shows that were done at the same time.
So this was a comment from Christy, which is Russell talking through Christy, giant dodgy props. The funny thing is that if you look at like everything works to scale. So if you were only this big, what would everything look like in that time? Because the mass would be different, the size would be different, obviously, and the way you interpret it will be different. So it's actually hard to say. Well, if you're looking at a needle that's only this big, but in real life, by the time you shrunk down, it's gigantic. It would have a completely different sort of feel to it. So maybe it looks dodgy to us because we know what they look like, but maybe in scale to the people is actually quite accurate. So who knows?
Yeah, that is one of the plot points that happens. Well, they'll find something and they don't know what it is until they, step back and look at it from a distance and then do see, it's a giant knitting needle or something like that, because they just can't tell.
I mean, the only problem you got with a show like this of like saying, okay, so you got normal sized people and you got tiny people, and of course everything's going to be difficult, everything's going to be awkward. It's not like you can just shove them in a set together and away you go. Every trick photography item you can think of has to come out of the book to make this work, and it's part of the story. But if it does work, then it's going to be a massive success, and people are going to go, I'm really dialing into this. And for that reason, as a gimmick, it was a great idea.
Well, I would have loved to have put some more clips in from Land of the Giants, because there are some really, great innovations. There was one I was watching today where they were firing a gun, and basically to fire a gun, they had to lash it all together into something that looked like a catapult, and then put ropes around the hammer that pulls the trigger, and you've got 4 of them pulling it back, and then they managed to shoot someone. And I was like, this is an amazing piece of drama. It's just taking 10 minutes to tell. It just wouldn't cut it on TV today.
Yeah, you're right. And you are right, Russell, that, Irwin was a cheap guy. So, if you cut corners still. But ironically, I don't think another show has been done like this ever since we got tiny people with large people, a TV series anyway.
Out of all of these shows, this was the one I was thinking, it'd be really interesting to see a concept of them rebooting this today, because there isn't anything like it. And the other thing from rewatching it again, when I was growing up, I didn't remember if it was on Earth or another planet, but it has got that it seems like it's a parallel dimension because they're on an Earth and people speak English and they know pop culture and play Earth music, but they seem about maybe 20 years back in technology. And the Spindrift, which is the name of the spaceship, is from in the future, and they have lost ships and they have gone through this dimensional portal before. So yeah, it is a really interesting concept that I think was a bit ahead of its time. It wasn't a mad scientist shrunk them, which is a lot of the old B movies.
With that in mind, apparently, as Russell said, there was a World of the Giants, which was built around the Incredible Shrinking Man prop. So, yeah, so maybe there was more than one. And just mentioned about whether time would pass differently as well. That's a scientific question. I would think probably not, just because you're smaller. Why should time be different? But the way you view things would be different. So, looking at my perspective, you were only this big. Looking up a building, for example, the side of a building, I don't know if you could even, your brain could handle the scale, because you're talking about something like 15 kilometers high. So, anyway.
There's an episode of Doctor Who that tackles it where they can't even use a telephone because all of them have to shout as loud as they can and it still doesn't work. Where in Land of the Giants, the little people often speak into a telephone normally and the person on the other end can hear them, which actually wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's a good point, because in The Incredible Shrinking Man, the guy was trying to call out to his wife and she just couldn't hear him because his voice was tiny by that point. And you are right, Christy, yeah, in terms of films, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, yeah, exactly right. And that has some really, really good visual effects. So, yeah, good stuff. But we're here to talk about the collectibles. So, and there's actually more than I realised for this series. I was really surprised.
There was probably more than I realised. And I think it's because it maybe captured the imaginations of kids maybe a little bit more than the adults, so it was probably a prime one for merchandisers to use for children. This is the logo and the main cast from Land of the Giants. In some ways, it was really like a. We're going to look at the Aurora kits later. It was really like almost the cast from Lost in Space, right down to Fitzhugh is Dr. Smith, who will betray them for money and backstab them at every opportunity he gets the point. We've got the little kid, and instead of the robot, he has his dog Chipper. And then we've got the 3 lead males and the 2 females. So it's really sort of that dynamic from Lost in Space, but they've changed it to the Land of the Giants.
Just the final point on the scientific side of it, Thomas has said your heart would be like the mouse, reducing lifespan significantly. If everything's in scale, I would say it should be an issue, but gravity would be a problem because you're obviously smaller and gravity would impact you differently. But anyway, that's for a scientific discussion for another show, maybe the dial V violated. So, yes. Anyway, the trouble is this tiny people gimmick doesn't really sustain a full series. I think it can if it's really thought out. And I mean, it's obviously designed all around the visual effects. I mean, ultimately, you don't really give a shit about the story. It's about how they do it. How is it going to work? I mean, that's the crux for a lot of these things. But if it did work and you could get a good story out of it, anyway, it is gimmicky though. It probably wouldn't last very, very long. So, yes, good stuff.
Think the closest they can do would be something like Ant-Man and Wasp kind of special effects, and it would impress people, I think. But how long they could keep the story going, who knows?
Yeah, it'd be a gimmick. Anyway, very good.
Okay, so this is one of the first items of merchandise. It's also one of the more unusual ones. The cast, when the show started, were given, so they're quite rare because they're cast items, Land of the Giants cigarette lighters by Zippo, and they had the Fox, 20th Century Fox, or is it Universal actually, for Land of the Giants ashtrays. And it has the Land of the Giants logo on, but it has all the other shows that were around at the time on it as well. And I thought that is quite an interesting item for a TV show to have ashtrays and cigarette lighters. It really just shows you how the smoking culture has changed a lot since back then, when that was probably a cool gift to get from the studio. I've never seen them for sale. I was surprised when I found these when I was researching this episode.
Very good. William did make him a point. He already said Planet of the Giants. Sorry, William. No, I missed that one. So, very, very cool. Anyway, so, that's great. Yeah, obviously back in the days when smoking was the go, ashtrays and, cigarette lighters. You watch people these days, what the hell's a cigarette lighter?
It is funny. But one of the things that a lot of these shows got, and the Land of the Giants got, was bubblegum cards. And the really interesting thing about these bubblegum cards is they're British. The British bubblegum cards for Land of the Giants came out, and they were released in the UK and did quite successfully. They weren't released in America for the first year, and they plan to reissue this set as an American set in the second year of Land of the Giants, and Topps had it all ready to go. They used the same pictures, but there was slight differences in the orders of the cards and stuff. And then the network cancelled the show, so Topps never released an American set of Land of the Giants cards. So the ones that we can see that look like the American trading cards are actually British, which is really unusual for an American show to only get a British release of collector cards.
What I would have found interesting is like if you get a show and you go, okay, we're going to market it and merchandise it, and you go, okay, what's the hook? What have you got? And you go, if you just got little dudes and big dudes, there's really not a lot to work on because it's not like you're dealing with fancy aliens or like really, really cool gadgets and rocket ships and all this sort of business and different planets and whatever. So I reckon some of the people must be scratching their heads going, okay, what are we going to try and sell this on rather than just like the concept? So you have to have a giant and a person in the same image. So I reckon that would have caused a bit of grief.
The other interesting thing, we talked about the one of the seasons of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea holds the record for having not a single female cast character in the entire series, even as an extra or a voiceover. Land of the Giants for the entire 2 series didn't have any romantic plot lines. They were all friends, and that was it. There was no romantic plot line. So that was one of the things that probably did make it more kid-friendly, where it might have been a bit lacking for adults.
Yeah, actually, it's very, very funny. It seemed aimed at the adult audience. I think you're right. The stories are probably aimed at the adults, but the effects, just the concept, would have been, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do that sort of thing with the kids? So, interesting.
Yeah, so this is some other pictures from the same trading card set. And you can see, like most trading cards, they are a nice set. They're colourful. They have hero shots of the main cast. They have, I guess they would have been taken as publicity stills, but there's some fantastic pictures from Land of the Giants of, the cast being stuck down by sticky tape with giant pencils and other things around them, or held by giant hands. The interesting thing about these cards, they didn't have a written story on the back. They had a comic book on the back, which was kind of a adaptation of the first episode, but the Spindrift looked nothing like the one that was in the TV show. A very nice set of cards, quite hard to get. I was looking because I saw these, and sometimes when I research these shows, I'm like, this might be something I want in my collection. They're going for about $250 US a set, so about 400 landed to get one maybe, and it's a bit too much for me.
Yeah, it's sort of like if you've got the logo up here, for example, that reiterates what I said. You've got to have the big dude and you've got to have a little dude. Just the words by itself aren't enough. It's got to visually show, yes, we're talking about little people versus big people. And that would be the hook. Without that, you've got nothing. But I do like the idea of it's like the King Kong thing of human hands holding this the little guy, which is particular. That alone is particularly groovy. So a lot of people will be sold just on seeing that. Go, what's going to happen next?
Yes, and you are absolutely correct. I do think the Land of the Giants is a very, very good TV logo. It's obviously one that isn't a font that existed. They've made it up for the TV logo, and you can tell straight away what it's going to be about. And you can tell the Giants are bad and the little guys are good just because of the way they're imposing themselves over the little people that are hiding from them in the logo. These are a series of books. The books did quite well for a show that only ran 2 years. There were 6 different books, 3 of them written for the American market, 3 different ones written for the UK market. And then it was so popular that it was adapted across into Japanese and also adapted across into German, which I think out of all the shows we've looked at, we haven't had a German paperback before. The paperbacks are hard to find. I used to find that one on the top right quite a bit. That was the Whitman hardback storybook for kids. There was a TV series of books that used to have a lot of different American shows, from Lassie and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and The Invaders, and the Land of the Giants was one of those. And you used to see them around, but even they aren't around anymore. The Land of the Giants is quite a challenging show if you started collecting now to put together a collection, because the old stuff is quite desirable still and just doesn't show up.
Look at the comment. Look at the cat down there. That's one cat that's got an attitude problem, isn't it? It's not the happiest. That's a cat needing its whiskers. Gavin's asked, did they then get killed off? I don't think they did. And did they get back home? I don't think they did either. Did they?
No, they didn't. They found other ships that had come through with survivors on, and some of those survivors got killed in the episodes.
Yes.
they found one episode where they found Earth in the night sky, but they could never get back. And the series ended after 2 years, so they never finalized it and got them back to Earth. They probably just got, eaten by a dog, and that was it.
Good on you. He's picking his teeth on them. Was it adapted to Australian? I'm not sure if you mean the show or the comics, Ange. So
I don't think there was an Australian version. I don't really remember any of the merchandise being released exclusively here either. I remember the paperbacks I found in secondhand bookshops, and I used to find a lot of the hardback, but that was about it. Some of the comics that appeared, as we'll see later in different comics, I've had some of those too. But in the shop, I don't have any Land of the Giants stuff at all. It's quite hard to get. And I do like it when we go through this. Some of the collectibles look quite amazing.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the images, and I think it's that whole thing of little people dealing with normal size objects, and it just takes on a completely different perspective when you're in that situation. It's really cool.
It really does, and I think that's why I have fond memories of it as a child. Just because, although it isn't a particularly strong story, the imagination side of it as a kid, with giant animals and dogs and them, just it really does seem in every episode they struggle with what they're doing just because of their size. That it is quite a good one to watch when you're a kid. When you grow up, yeah, it is a bit boring. There's the 2 annuals there. Annuals are sort of the British books that come out every Christmas, and they release them for just about every show under the sun. The Land of the Giants ones, they're 2 great ones, because the first one has, the classic photos from the advertising campaign for the show, and then the bottom one has a unique picture that was only created for the annuals again, which is a nice one. It's more of a cougar than a cat that's after them, with the spindrift and the little people trying to avoid it. There's also some other British books there, which are quite hard to get. Yeah, they should have, or something. A crossover is one of those things. I think we mentioned it in another show where, if through the time tunnel they got the Land of the Giants or from Lost in Space or something, it would have been an amazing TV event, especially as all 4 series ended at the same year. Imagine a 2-hour TV special, which wouldn't have been beyond Irwin Allen, to end them all in one fantastic, everything but the kitchen sink kind of show. But maybe in a universe but not our one. Some of the hardest things to find are these books. They're colouring books and sticker books, and they're aimed at kids. And I had these kind of books when I was a kid, but the thing with colouring books and sticker books, once they're all coloured in and all the stickers are used, they generally get thrown out because you don't need them and you can't use them anymore, and there's not much of a story. So these are some of the hardest books to find. And I've got to say, when I was going through the Land of the Giants ones, I never knew a lot of this merchandise existed. And I've looked at Land of the Giants collectibles before. So there's some amazing stuff out there.
Question from Gavin about the fact that everything on the Giants' land, just like Earth-based objects, or they're alien things as well. I think some of the concepts were alien-ish, if that makes sense, but everything else was contemporary.
Interesting show where the Giants were always portrayed as sort of bad and corrupt. It was almost like the Earth they lived in was maybe an Eastern Bloc version of Earth, and all the scientists always kind of looked like Slugworth from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or looked kind of evil. Once in a while, you would have the police, the little people would help the police. And because the little people, we were more technologically advanced, they would sometimes do something for the scientists who would then let them go for helping them out, kind of thing. But generally, it was the scientists, the Giants were always bad, and they were always trying to catch them to do experiments on them or put them in theaters as puppets, which is of course what you would do if you got little people for real.
Yeah, so that's how it works, Gavin. And like the little people, like us of today, if you will, like really scientifically a bit switched on in terms of technology, whereas the Giants, even though they're big, are actually a bit less developed from a technological perspective, if that makes any sense. That's how you get the balance. So yeah, very groovy.
And these are some of the British comics as well. There wasn't ever a dedicated Land of the Giants comic in England. They sort of appeared as a backup comic in other comics. So for anyone that knows the Jerry Anderson stuff, there's the TV21, which was Thunderbirds and Stingray, and then there's the Joe 90 comic as well. And there was some amazing artwork in the British comics. I always think that the British comics have an edge above the American comics, where the the artwork does seem more like artwork, and I think that's because where American comics had a week to do a whole issue, the British comics had a week to do 2 pages. So of course there's going to be a difference in the finished product, but I still think they're amazing pieces of art. So there wasn't many Land of the Giants comics in England, and they're the issues that you can find them in. And some of the original art still exists in collections there, so you can see the art there that has the doesn't have the print on it. Yeah, you've got Russell's correct there. They were kind of portrayed as space commies, and that comes across, in quite a lot of episodes.
Gavin's asked about if their planet was much larger than Earth too. Probably one of those things they don't sort of tackle in detail. It's a bit like Bob Dignag and the Lilliputians. You go, who's the big, who's small, who's the... It just, you just take it at face value, probably.
It is Earth. It's another dimension, because although they never specifically say it's Earth, they have the same music, they have the same artists. So pictures on the wall, they say are by this artist.
Yeah, no.
So it must be like an alternate dimension.
Yeah, no, what Gavin is saying is that if the giants are like we are, then the physical planet has to be 15 times bigger, right? But that's probably one of the things they don't sort of really tackle. They just go, you know what? You got our people have shrunk down for whatever reason, and they're still operating as per normal. They got these big dudes running around. Let's just go with the kids. Don't think about it too much. If you start thinking about this sort of shit, don't forget, you talk about time tunnels and bloody lost in space, your brain will leak out your ears, and there's the scientific shit goes out the window. You don't need it. So
yes,
good stuff.
So these are the American comics, and like all of the Irwin Allen stuff, they're the Golden Key and the Dell comics, and you can see that the first issue of the American comic basically is the same cover as the annual that was produced in the UK. I think the covers for the Land of the Giants comics are amazing. There's only those 5 issues, so it's not a hard set to complete. They go for about $30 an issue, so they're not super expensive. All of them use really iconic images from the show, like the giant cats and the Spindrift camp and giant cameras and all the stuff that they use around the camp. So if you've got them, they are a nice collection to have. And then the artwork is, your typical sort of American 12-cent comic art. So they're still sort of available. Out of all the Lost in Space merchandise, they're probably the easiest things to collect. I think they're a pretty amazing set of comics, actually.
One thing that worth pointing out, interesting, is like obviously in the TV series, we took to the point of view of the little people, right? But imagine us in our society, like right now, while you and I are talking on the screen, little people are here on Earth, right? From another version of Earth. I mean, how trippy would that be? So obviously they wouldn't want themselves to be discovered, because they'd be on Twitter and frigging Instagram in no time. So it is something that it's a very interesting concept, looking at it from both perspectives, the people who are the little people and the people who are the giants looking down at the little people. So you can make some very interesting stories out of that. So anyway, all good.
And like all of the shows we've looked at, there was a Land of the Giants board game. And out of all the board games, even though the board for this one looks pretty simple, I actually think that this was probably the best game out of all of them at representing the show. And basically, there's the Spindrift camp where you start, and then you've got to make your way out into the world, which is the board, and you've got to pick up different things you can use. So you might get a paper clip or a safety pin that you can use as a grappling hook, and then you've got to go and get a matchstick, and you've got to get like a rock that you can make into an axe. So it's one of those going out onto the board, collecting different cards to make stuff, and coming back and getting there safe without getting taped down or eaten by a snake or something like that. So a lot of these board games from the 60s, they just said, right, okay, we're licensed Lost in Space. Now there's Lost in Space Ludo. And they did that with so many games. And this one is actually one of the games that the spirit of the show, if you were playing it, you can kind of go, oh, that's what the show was about. So this is one of the better board games based on TV shows from the 60s.
And just finishing off, Gavin has said he was just testing our intellect. Well, mine's going to fail dismally. Yes. Aaron is, so I can't even get that right. Aaron's got no problems at all.
Mine is the superior intellect.
Yes, indeed.
To quote misquote Rather Khan. Here's
the wrong quote, but let's not worry about that show.
Here's another couple of interesting things from Land of the Giants. Now, I knew there were the color forms, and they're sort of Colourforms are American toy that we don't really get in Australia, and basically they give you big colourful backgrounds and sort of plastic characters that you can stick down on them to make your own story, and then you can peel them off again and use them in a different way. And this means a lot of them are not complete because the plastic that you peel down is quite flimsy, so it can get damaged, or they don't get put in the box, and the box is easily crushable. So they're quite a hard item to collect and quite a nice one. Now, the filthy rare one there is the Land of the Giant eraser board. Now, I don't know if anyone grew up with those eraser boards. They were basically a piece of card that had a special surface, and you put another piece of paper over the top, and then you could draw on it with like just a piece of wood pencil, and it would make the image. And then by lifting up the top piece of paper, the image would disappear, and you could use it over and over again. And what they would do sometimes is give you things you could trace. So it looked like you could draw something amazing, and you've drawn it, and then you rip it off and you start again. But the thing about that is it only has a limited lifespan. So if someone really likes to use the eraser board, eventually it does die. And that's why these things are so hard to find, because once that top layer stops working, it just gets binned. So one of those rare items that I didn't know existed, but there you go, the Land of the Giants eraser board. And I did have some growing up, and they were fun, but I think I had a Sesame Street one.
Very cool. I like this from Christy, which is from Russell, saying if little people did exist, you'd just stick them in your store, selling them next to those dodgy items that you got from Greg King's Cheapy Things. And Thomas is saying, I've got to put in a dad joke. It's getting late. He's waiting for a joke from me. Oh, my God, don't do that. That's the last thing you need. So, yes.
Yeah. You think about one of those bad jokes, Dags, while we go on with the rest of the presentation.
Well, that's part of the gag, is the fact you don't think about them, just come out naturally. So, yes, there you go. Very, very cool.
Now, here's another really interesting set, because it's made things I wouldn't have thought you would make, because you've got like the Land of the Giants dress ups, and you can understand them doing, the captain of the Spindrift, and you've got the mask that looks at him, and then the uniform they wear. But then they've done two that are really generic. There's the Giant Professor, and it is a Land of the Giants piece, and the Giant Witch, which is also a Land of the Giants piece, when you could have thought that kids would have more liked any of the other characters from Land of the Giants. And the Giant Professor does look very ogre-like in his sort of portrayal, but that's what they often were. I don't remember the episode with the witch in it at all, but they've obviously just got a witch costume and slapped Land of the Giants on it so they can cash in on selling Land of the Giants merchandise. Again, these are very, very hard to find, but they are a very cool piece of merchandise for anyone that likes that sort of unusual off-the-wall stuff to do with the franchises that they collect. It would be quite challenging to find those, I think.
I've gone out with girlfriends who've had this reaction when I've asked them to pay for dinner, so that's never ended well. And what's the deal with this thing down here? It's like, that's an interesting sort of place to have your wolf's head, isn't it? Or your cat's head?
No, that is actually the cat. So that's where they've put the pussy.
Yeah, good on you. And yeah, strategically well placed. What can I say? Eh? So I'm finding it very difficult to contain myself.
Yes, much like putting the radiation symbol on your crotch, hey?
Yes.
Now, one of those things that is also very collectible, and you can still get them, but they go for quite a lot of money, are lunch boxes. Now, in Australia, we've discussed this before, we didn't really have the phenomenon of everyone sort of has their favourite tin lunchbox and thermos that they take to school. But in America, it was a big thing. And so they, of course, did Land of the Giants. And I think it's a particularly nice one. You've got the giant scientist looking at them on the front, and then you've got the cat attacking them on the back. Around the side, you've got a snake and the spindrift, and then you've got the cast using things like rolls of cotton and evading a giant car. And also, this is one of the few produced by the same company where was the tin waste bin as well. So Land of the Giants would have been quite a popular franchise for them to go beyond the lunchbox and thermos, which was like 90% of the franchises, and also do the waste bin as well.
Kind of funny because like you've got them thermoses in your store at the moment, but you don't actually have a Land of the Giants one, which is a bit unfortunate, eh?
No, that would have been a cool one to get to come through, but no, that thermos and lunchbox in nice condition go for about $450 US. So quite a bit.
And it's worth noting the scale of this is incorrect. I mean, these guys here next to the car tire should be right just down there, but you know what? A bit hard to produce an item like that. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting as well. They only ever produced one Land of the Giants jigsaw, and I don't know if that's meant to be a cat or a cougar or what it's meant to be, but it's pretty average drawing. But at one of the conventions in between signings, one of the actors, the original actors, got together and they put together one of the jigsaws in between signings and stuff. So Dags, you're in good company when you're putting the jigsaws together. Don't knock it, mate. And on the other side there, the actual items don't exist. This is how rare some of this is. Someone has found the backing card for the Land of the Giants whistle and flashlight, but the actual items, there's no examples of them that have turned up. So this is one of those things. It's almost like something you'd get in a show bag where the actual items disappear and someone's just kept the packaging. And a whistle and flashlight is like something you'd get in a show bag. So quite a rare item to find there.
I like this one from Christy, which maybe come from Russell. Land of the Giants lunchbox open up and has little people in sandwiches. Nothing munching down on some little dudes. I hope Natasha's not watching anymore. So that can be interpreted in many different ways, which are all wrong. Bad Dags, but yes, munching down on little dudes.
Yes.
Bad Dags.
So, yeah.
Good stuff.
And here we go into some of that more interesting stuff, which is the Remco items. Now, we've seen this with Star Trek when we looked at the Star Trek stuff. Remco used to slap whatever license was hot property at the moment and just release unrelated toys that had nothing to do with the show at all, which I think is pretty cool because as a kid, you watch an episode and you probably think you missed the episode that had the space sled in, but this is the Land of the Giants space sled. You could get it in two different colors. You could get a white one or you could get a blue one. And basically it's an old Remco spaceship toy that they just rebranded as a Land of the Giants item. Now, all of these, put your pussy away. All of these are incredibly hard items to find. When I was looking, there was very little of them to buy worldwide. They sort of go into people's collections and they stay there because they just don't turn up.
Now, a question, I'm going to try to do this without dropping the cat. Now, I'm going to ask the pussycat, how would you be munching down on little dudes that were running around the house? Would you sit there going, munchy, 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 oh, they're so crunchy?
The scientists could probably clone them just as cat toys.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, yeah, I knew Gavin would be happy. You love seeing my cat, so there you go.
Now, out of all the items tonight, this would probably be the one I would pick for me to keep just because it is so bizarre. And it is a Remco spaceship control panel. And they have basically taken one of those car dashboards that you give to little kids who want to pretend they're driving a car. They've molded it in like futuristic colors, and then they've put like the stickers and the cardboard bits on it related to Land of the Giants, and they've called it like a space control panel. And it even comes with a space license that you can fill your name in so you are qualified to drive this space panel. It is supercar, isn't it? It's one of those things that they probably knocked out a million different colors for any way they could because it was a cheap item. As a kid, if I'd got that, I'd have probably been horrified. But as an adult, I think that's an awesome collectible. What do you think about that one, mate?
Yeah, I reckon it's just got winner, chicken dinner all over it. And if you had a mint and box one of those, add some zeros on top of your extra zeros and not have a whale of a time. Yeah, I think it's awesome, man. So, yeah
fantastic.
Very, very cool.
And we're staying with the Remco stuff in the next slide. You've got the Remco flying rocket. And it is, again, one of those toys that was not made for Land of the Giants. And they've got like some warehouse somewhere that had all these Remco flying rockets and they've gone repackaged them as Land of the Giants. So it's getting to the point where they're really just slapping Land of the Giants on any space toy that they haven't sold and selling it. And again, as a kid, I would have hated that. As an adult, I think that's fantastic and they're incredibly rare. So it's one of those ironic collectibles that is collectible because it really has nothing to do with the Land of the Giants, but says it is.
That's the key thing, isn't it? I mean, you are right. You put the logo on there because once again, as we said, the logo sells it. Add some shit in there. It doesn't matter if it's in the show or not, but that's enough to make it work. And in this case, obviously, little kids are going to dial into it, even if they've not watched the show or anything else, because of the strength of the logo, which is pretty ingenious when you think about it. So
it really is. Good. And here's some more Remco stuff. You've got the Land of the Giants flying disc, which is basically a frisbee. You've got, and this is a really bizarre one. You've got the Land of the Giants, how to make a spindrift out of matchsticks, or toothpicks. It's a toothpick spaceship. Basically, they give you the cardboard bits, and you supply your box full of toothpicks, and you can make a realistic spindrift out of toothpicks. Now, for people who make models, that is a really bizarre concept. I'd love to know if Russell would attempt one of those. But again, it's one of those things that I found the example of one that hasn't been made, but no existing example of a made one is out there. So it is a really rare item. I can imagine as a kid getting a present and it had like a couple of sheets of paper or card printed, and you just had to make a ship out of not matchsticks, toothpicks. I would have said that is crap. But there you go. It was a product and they made it.
Got it. Right. So Chrissy said, yeah, the top right looks like an angle grinder. That thing up here. Yeah. Gotcha.
It really does. Yeah.
Cool. Ruzy.
And the other one on the next page, if you go back one just quickly, there's a set of Land of the Giants walkie-talkies. And again, that's the only one that exists. It's that stuff must have been so cheap and so pumped out, not a lot of people collected it. So there's the one up the top is in an advertising magazine. So there's a picture of it, but down the bottom there's a guy that's got all of the Land of the Giants. He's got the biggest collection, and that's all he's found, sort of just a pretty used example. So some very rare stuff from Land of the Giants.
So for those who haven't put two and two together, it's now 10 o'clock, and we were actually, because we had the memorial on for Shane Warne, we're deliberately going over time. So we're going to be sticking around for a little while longer, yapping on about the old Land of the Giants. So don't leave us just yet. So, yes, here we go.
It's a big show about little things. We've got and again, Americans love their guns, and there weren't any guns like this in Land of the Giants, but again, Remco had a couple of space guns and ones that were just target guns. They weren't even space guns. They didn't even modify them. They just whacked a sticker on each one of them that had the Land of the Giants logo. And Bob's your uncle, you've got two new Land of the Giants product, the Land of the Giants target rifle and the Land of the Giants space gun. And believe it or not, the space gun doesn't fire a rainbow out of it like it does in that picture. So again, some really unusual stuff for Land of the Giants.
Yeah, it's called desperation, isn't it, really? Just market anything and just see how you go. And some of the stuff probably did actually sell, which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah. Now, I think Russell might have been talking about this earlier. I'll start on the left, actually. You've got the Land of the Giants Viewmasters. They're just the standard Viewmaster. There was one released for Land of the Giants, which was 3 Viewmaster reels with a story on. But the ones on the right, which I said Russell might be talking about with his crap giant props, the hand from Land of the Giants was apparently in Universal Studios for about 30 years, and it was one of the major attractions where people could go along and get themselves photographed by the giant hand. And it was so popular. That's a Universal Studios mug, and it is actually printed on the mug from the 70s as one of the attractions. And then there's also Universal Studios Stein glass, and again, the hand is on the Stein glass as one of the major attractions. You can go and see the giant hand from Land of the Giants. And I guess it must have been popular because, you could go and see the giant hand that held Fay Ray from King Kong, but that's not on there. They've got the Land of the Giants one. So it must have been a bit of a technical achievement at the time to have a giant hand that could open and close and grasp things. So amazing. But again, I couldn't find any sold examples of those on eBay. So it must be an incredibly rare item to find those memorabilia from Universal Studios.
I would say, as they always like to say, you can't hand a man a grand hander. So, and as they like to say, yes, when they said, we need to design a full size, this gigantic arm, and someone said, it's a bit of a risk taking that, but in the end, the risk was worth it because it came, it worked, and yes, but they obviously had to palm the job off to some other company.
Yes, and we've had.
I'd move on too.
We've had the Give a Show projectors. This is a Land of the Giants movie projector. Again, another item I'd never seen. It's kind of like a Viewmaster, but it comes with a celluloid piece of film. and it isn't actually a moving film. You just crank it and you see one frame at a time of black and white images from Land of the Giants. And that's another really rare and really cool item. And it just shows you how Land of the Giants was merchandised and must have been popular with kids for them to release all this stuff from the series.
Yes. Just going back a couple of comments. William said he wanted the rifleman's Winchester, the Winchester rifle as a kid. I think every kid wanted a gun back then. Until we learnt what they're all for. Gavin said, "Yeah, they were space cadets." Well, I guess they were, because they were probably saying, "Here's the brief. Make some stuff and make sure it sells." So they're okay. Away we go. So,
well, when we do our
yeah, that's a particularly bizarre item we're looking at right there. So,
yeah. Now this is amazing. We spoke, I think, last week about the difference between the price of a built model kit done professionally and a sealed one. Now, these are two model kits that sold on eBay. These are original Aurora model kits from the 60s. The snake, which I think is got to be one of the greatest kits ever, a giant snake attacking the little people. Now, that's been professionally done, and I think that went for about... sorry, I've got to enlarge the screen to see what they went for. So it went for $1,300 US for the built one, and it went for $700 US for the mint in box sealed one. So the built one of the original went for more. So that's about 1,600 Australian for a built one and about $1,000 for a sealed one. So if you're a model collector, that's a serious chunk of change if you want the original Aurora one. And then they have, of course, reissued it, and the reissue probably goes for about $100.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like the idea of buying model kits, but they don't want to build them themselves, especially if they know that their skills are limited. So having someone do it for them and doing it really, really well. Funnily enough, Russell, who's watching this now, is sending through all these factoids at the moment. He's big into building models. So you never know. Rusky Babes, it could be a little bit of a side earner for you. So
well, the other thing, Russell has an amazing collection, and maybe one day down the track we can persuade him to show it on the show as a special guest or something, maybe, if he's open to that.
Release the crack at the Python. Yeah, that's very, very good. That's a nice little Clash of the Titans joke. So, yeah, very good.
So these are some other model kits. And again, I did not realize how popular the Spindrift actually was. I don't think I've seen many versions of it on Australia, but there are a lot of model kits they made of it from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So even though the show went for 2 years, there's about 7 or 8 different model kits, and it's one of those that's been in production since the 60s, and you can still buy them in one form or another. The original ones are by Aurora and go for quite a lot of money, as we've seen. Polar Lights and Morbius and a couple of other companies have also done them. Some of them are just the model, and some of them you can open the model and it has all the interior rooms and figures inside as well. But I guess if you want just a model kit, there's a few that you can get. If you've got like that higher level of skill that Russell's got to put them together, you might get the one that has all the interior bits if you're up for modeling and painting all of that.
Yeah, I like how it's up here. It just says spaceship. Yeah, you can't get more generic than that, can you?
Yeah, you can't. And there's the little lead version of it, which is another little kit you can put together. It's a lot smaller. And then there's different versions. And I think the Lunar Models is a garage kit that came out. There's also the Japanese version of it, because although it wasn't one of the biggest shows for Irwin Allen in Japan, it did have a little bit of a following, and there was some Japanese merchandise as well. And a lot of the Japanese models, even if the show isn't popular, they do love models and they do love doing spaceships. So there's a few different versions of the Spindrift that came out in Japan.
Very good.
Now, you can see from this that the Spindrift actually crashed onto Dagobah, because this is another one of the model kits that is available, and it looks suspiciously like a playset from Star Wars, but this came out before the Dagobah playset. No, it's not Dagobah, but it is another model kit that's a diorama of the Spindrift at camp. And you can see that you get a log and snakes and giant reptiles and a rat and stuff like that. So as a kid, if I had a choice between doing a spaceship or something like this, I'd have probably done this, because you get the spaceship and a whole bunch of creepy crawlies as well.
Very good. I'm trying to think of something witchy to say, and I just can't at the moment. So there you go.
Look at the size of that snake. I don't know. Now, this is really interesting. If Jeff Rowe was here, we could ask him if he had this. This is the Land of the Giants DVD set. And I think this is an amazing DVD set because that is a replica of one of the capture cases that the Giants do put the little people in various episodes. And that has been turned into the case that holds the DVDs. So it's the replica, it's like a prop replica of the Land of the Giants, and then you've got the DVDs inside, and you don't get much better than that when it comes to a special edition DVD, do you, Dags?
Yeah, it's good that they've done that because, they could easily just chuck them out as a box set and not worry about it. But the fact that they put a bit of thought and effort into it, good on too.
That box set, because they've done that, you can buy the standard one for about $49. Yes, yeah. And the ones on eBay were going for about $400 of the special edition. So that's one of my favourite limited editions.
Isn't that interesting? It's worth because obviously because of the I was going to say the fancy packaging and $300 to $400. Like Jesus Christ, who would have thought? So
it is crazy. Like we should get Jethro on as well to do a special edition DVD cases. I know he did it on Talk Nerdy to me, but some of them. Movies that are recognised as not being that popular, like I, Robot, had an amazing case, and that case goes for $500-600, where no one even really cares about the movie.
Yeah, I know. And Will Smith didn't smack anybody in that.
And here we're getting through to the end of stuff. These are some more. I'd like to say more modern, but they're going back to the 90s now. I just think that's more modern. And you've got the Land of the Giants Spindrift blueprints. You've got the release pin for when the DVDs come out. You've got special edition vinyl, and you've even got a Spindrift number plate. If you want to put that on your car and get pulled over because it's not an official number plate, you can do that. So there's a few of the more current collectibles. I guess they're not current anymore, but stuff for Land of the Giants was produced way after the show finished.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
And as I said, it took off in Japan, not as much as some of the other shows we've looked at, but I thought what's interesting is a lot of them would use the original logo with the Japanese over the top, but they've gone for making a Japanese version of Land of the Giants logo, which is, I thought was pretty cool. And then they've got the English down the bottom. So that's a collectible script that came out in the 60s, which is apparently really rare. And I love that logo because you can see it's Land of the Giants when you know what it's all about. And then below that, there was also a Japanese stamp set for Land of the Giants that was released in the 60s as well. Another rare piece that's very hard to find for anyone who collects stamps. So
yeah, the logo doesn't look so good without the actual giants there and the little dudes, eh? So
I did think that was funny because they've obviously gone for the same sort of look as the original logo, right down to sort of the cracks in it like rock, but they didn't bother putting the man and the giants hiding from them. So that's a bit weird.
Speaking of weird, I like how the fact that Chrissy's had to say, Jeffro, you spent more on Godzilla underpants from Rusky Babe. So the interesting way of having a conversation there, which is particularly groovy.
Good luck on anyone working out what's going on if they watch this episode back. So
yeah, exactly right. Absolutely fantastic.
That was our Time Tunnel Land of the Giants presentation that was meant to be over 1 week, stretched into 2 weeks, that was going to be short, but ended up being blown out into a giant size episode.
There you go. It's like a supersize version of Rip It Off the Card. And people are still watching us. Oh, my goodness gracious me. It was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I tell you what. So there you go. No. Christy said she's never doing this again. Okay, Christy, we don't talk about your private life on the show, but whatever floats your boat.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Christy. You're a most trusted and loyal viewer.
Absolutely fantastic. So there you go. Anyway, guys, it's actually been quite a good one, actually. We've had a lot of fun tonight. And I'm glad that people sort of actually joined us because we actually did think with only joining, we're starting the episode up 20 minutes before we were due to go on air that nobody would be watching, but a lot of people have, and you've stuck through the entire thing. And but the good thing is that Land of the Giants is still a popular show, and we, of course, appreciate it on this program, which is absolutely fantabulous. Any final words before we sign off for the night, Mr. Aaron?
Again, just reiterating what you said, thanks for everyone with sticking with us. We weren't even sure if anyone would turn up tonight, and we've had pretty constant numbers all the way through. Thanks especially to Russell, who's been banned from Facebook but still is following us on YouTube. Thanks for the effort for Christy for transcribing his messages across. That shows dedication.
Yeah, and he wasn't banned because of us. I thought I'd just clarify that too. So there you go. All right, very, very good. You guys party hard, rock on. Remember to keep all your Land of the Giants collectibles mint in box if you can find them.
Oh, rip them off the card if you can find them.
Okay. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Good night. So we have a concept. This is a little bonus after the show for anyone who's still hanging around. We have a concept show. Often we pick on Dicko, who comes into the shop because he is diminutive of stature, although he has a really great sense of humour. So thanks for letting us make fun of you all the time, mate. But we've come up with a show. So you've seen the Land of the Giants, but Rip It Off the Card presents Land of the Tiny Dicks. Now, Dicko was in today, and that isn't Photoshop. That is a real photo of Dicko and his friend Adam. So as you can see, he is quite a small person, and Adam is holding him up by his head, which probably he'll need an osteopath later. But we just thought, Land of the Tiny Dicks could probably be a reboot of Land of the Giants that I think from tonight's episode everybody needs. What do you think, Dags?
Well, I'm thinking I haven't moved for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I've got really, really sore legs. I'm dying to get up and move, stretch. And all you want to do is keep the show going longer.
Okay, this is the last slide for the evening. Trapped in a world where everyone is taller than him, starring Dicko. And that isn't even fiction. That's real. And that picture is real. So you can see how tiny Dicko actually is. So when we talk about Dicko and how he's a regular and he has a great sense of humour, this is who we are talking about. He can either star in Land of the Tiny Dicks, or we can put a little hat on him and a fishing rod and he can be hired out as a garden gnome.
Well, Christy just said, drop their pants and we can see. She's been watching this show for too long, I think. So there you go. Anybody can get lost in Aaron's store. Well, that's entirely true. So yes, very, very cool. But yes, the land what's the name of the show? The Land of the Little Dickos.
Land of the Tiny Dicks.
Land of the Tiny Dicks. Absolutely fantastic. I wonder how much those DVD box sets will sell for. So there you go. What do you reckon?
I tell you what, probably less than Land of the Fat Pussies.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, we're going to buzz off. You never know. We might do an episode where we just sit around and just talk about crap for the next 2 hours or something. So
it can't be any worse than tonight's.
Exactly right. All right, leave you to it, guys. Take care. Okay, bye-bye.
Good night, guys. Have a good one.